그래서 1, 2, 3세트는 저희가 일반적인 스크림
The general manager of Washington Justice. So this is going to be a really interesting one, Pre. I'm pumped. These are two of my favorite teams. The two of the teams I have like right at the top in terms of who I think are going to be two of the strongest teams going into this year of Overwatch League. And I think our first really good look at. I mean, we saw Seoul in the Nexus, but this is our first really good look at your team, the Justice.
Yeah, it's a fresh new look, I think, for all of our fans, and I'm excited to see us on a YouTube broadcast. We have a lot of fresh new faces, new to us, right? I think we have a lot of fans from different teams that have kind of collated on the Justice and are excited to see how these guys work together.
Now, I want to start this thing on the right foot here. So it's an open scrim. Maybe you could give us a little bit of information on what an open scrim entails, just so everyone kind of understands what we'll be seeing today.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we really wanted to give the fans was a chance to see what it feels like to be an analyst or a coach or a player on the bench of an Overwatch League team. So I think it's something that you never forget. I remember when I was an analyst and I got to sit in on my first scrim. It's mind-boggling because most of us are Overwatch players, and you know how you play the game and you see it's like, oh, it's kind of like going onto a basketball court or like a football stadium, right? And being like, oh yeah, they use the same soccer ball, the same shoes I do, the same lobbies that we all do, but they just play the game at such a different level. So what we wanted to do was kind of give that peek behind the curtain. That's something that the Justice have always been about for our fans, trying to make sure that the fans get a lot of transparency from our org, both in how we're running things and how our players are improving. So we'll see a lot of kind of third-person perspectives today. We'll see a lot of what our coaches normally look at. So instead of those first-person views that we might be used to from a broadcast, we're going to see a little bit more of, what are our coaches looking for? How are we ult tracking? As Avril and I are going through, we can take a look and maybe if we're noticing something as a coach might that we see is a little bit different or a little bit weird, we can hop into a first-person perspective. And sit here with chat and we can play coach together. We can say, why is this person dying early? Are we getting the peel here and go from there?
And let us know, by the way, you guys in chat right now, hit us, hit up the Justice social media. Let us know what you want to see today. Let us know what you like as well. A few people are saying, Pre, that you're maybe a little bit quiet on your side. Right. So we'll just bump up your microphone if possible. Or I could make mine a bit quiet. Or you could turn me down, whichever way works.
I can definitely turn up here and we can bump that up. And let us know. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I am doing spectating, streaming, and commentating, none of which I am great at. So I have, we had a nice pre-scrim chat where I told Avril I really need him to carry. I need him to be my season 3 playoff decay for the stream today.
Yeah, I do. When the title is general manager, you really are just managing everything generally here. You're just going over across the entire board. You got everything under control. You got to do. You're Spider-Man out here just trying to get everything done. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting day because it'll be a sort of a look at a matchup that we won't get to really see very often as well, because it's Justice versus Seoul is kind of like almost a cross-regional matchup, because you guys will be heading over to NA shortly for the Overwatch League at the start of the season, which means you'll be playing in the Western Conference with all the other Western teams. And the only other time you could be playing Seoul again is if you both make a deep enough run in like a May Melee type tournament where you might end up meeting in international. So this is going to be a very special kind of matchup where it's quite a rare one, isn't it? So we don't get a real chance to see a team like Justice play against Seoul normally.
Yeah, and it's part of, I think, a lot of the stars aligned for us. Supreme and I have said for a while that we wanted to give the fans this experience in an open scrim, and there's always those kind of concerns at the back of the mind. You don't want to leak strats, you don't want to give your opponent a leg up in any way, but this is kind of nice for us. Yeah, we're far enough away from the season where we'll probably see at least one patch change before the season goes live, so we'll probably see a meta shift. Like you said, we won't see Seoul for at least the first couple of games. Hopefully in my own power rankings, I have Justice and Soul pretty high up there as well. So hopefully we get a chance to see each other in Hawaii or wherever that ends up being. But yeah, this is nice, and it'll give us a chance. I know, Everall, on your stream, when you were digging into the Steel series and talking about this will give some contrast. This is going to be, I think, a little bit more, when we're looking at the metas, a little bit more of what's being run on the APAC side of things, a little bit more dive focused than rush. We'll see some different compositions, especially in these first 3 matches.
Fantastic. Well, let's start moving ahead so we can take a look at what we'll be expecting today in our open scrim. So I think all the fans are kind of curious about what the format is going to be, what exactly we'll be seeing. I know some of this got posted on socials earlier, but let's just recap some of it for the fans anyway. So we'll head into it. Matches 1 to 3. Control Hybrid Escort will be the pure 6v6 open scrim. Justice playing against Soul. We got the full Justice roster playing against the full Soul roster in the standard Overwatch gameplay that you already know and expect. So I think this should be pretty straightforward, Pre.
Yeah, and I think we've told all of the players that we want them to take this as serious as possible. There's always the risk in these kind of show matches where it's like, we'll throw a little bit so that if it goes poorly, we can say we weren't really trying. But I think all of the teams, they're really committed. We've been scrimming quite a bit, and so this should be very similar to that Overwatch League format that we're all used to.
Yeah. And moving on from that, we have something a little bit more special. And we thought, we have a bit of a mixture of players in terms of veterancies here. So it will be Overwatch Apex mixed roster versus New Kids on the Block, which, Pri, I believe this is going to be a matchup where we're going to split the 2 teams up between Justice and Soul into, a combination of players who have a lot more experience over the Apex experience, guys like Prophet versus New Kids on the Block, new players coming in that are a bit, coming in from, I guess, the last 3 to 4 years during the Overwatch League era. So probably guys like Mag. So we're going to have a different kind of game for matches 4 and 5.
Yeah, and I think something that's really special about both Soul and the Justice is we've both kind of done this thing where we have veterans that are going to bring a really great level of experience and level-headedness to these teams. And then we also have some of these really exciting new up-and-coming kind of talent players. So, both teams are going to get the benefit of that in the regular season, but now we'll get to try to settle some rivalries with the old long in the tooth veterans against the up and comers. And so I think this will be really exciting. I know a lot of the fans are excited to see how these rosters end up panning out.
Cool. And then time pending, we got a little bit of extra onto the end as well. So matches number 6 and 7 will be 4 versus 4 team deathmatch between DPS and tank players, and I'm led to believe this is kind of like a workshop game mode that is quite popular among the pro players in terms of what they've been playing anyway, and it could be a really interesting kind of twist on the matchups. How does this one work?
Yeah, and I'm moving this over here because I see that we're about to
get started here.
Yeah, we are loading into the map. We have 13 seconds here, so okay. We'll get to that. That's going to be team deathmatch, but let's go ahead and get started.
We'll get to the team deathmatch when we get there, guys. Don't worry about it. For now, let's focus on the scrim because we're about to head into it. So straight away, you guys on the Washington side of things know, I think, we're running the regular tanks supports. Obviously, you guys just have those guys. But in terms of the 4 DPSs, before we actually open up, what are you guys kind of doing with your 4 DPSs currently? I mean, we probably expect Decay to be in a large amount of time, but you've chosen to have Jerry in to start with. So what's the kind of idea behind how you're rotating your 4 DPSs?
Yeah, so I think we ended up adding that 4th DPS, and we really wanted to have a team where we never had someone that was playing a hero that was not like their best hero. And so when we look at what we're kind of going across here, so you can see Decay here swapping onto that Tracer after we get everyone out with the Sim Teleporter. Decay has his heroes that he's kind of the best in the world at, and then we have a lot of our other guys kind of rotating on, and whenever we're having like an Ashe player or a Hanzo, Jerry is our go-to for that.
And Jerry obviously is someone that made his name on this map, I think, in the Overwatch League. We all remember the Boston versus Houston game, and already you're seeing Mag coming in. He's going to be jumping in as well. Decay's down fairly early here. Looking over towards the Soul side of things, we're seeing Sabilby coming in, so no Prophet to start with either. And after watching a bit of Nexus, it has been interesting to see what Soul been doing with their 3 DPS as well. Another thing I've sort of noticed here, Pri, is that we are definitely into more of a heavy dive kind of meta, and I think you did mention that the 2 regions between North America and APAC were going to have some differences, and I think over towards APAC we are seeing a lot more of this type of meta.
Yeah, absolutely. Tracer, Ashe, Echo, I think are really the 3 DPS that we're seeing rotated pretty significantly or frequently through often, you know, one dive main tank, either the Winston or the Ball. We're seeing the Winston variety from the Justice right now, and Ball on for Marvel there.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, often to kind of combat some of those Tracer, those kind of dive tanks, we have that Brig, and then either, yeah, the Honor or the Zen. So, yeah, we're kind of getting a nice picture of both approaches to kind of that APAC meta right now.
All right, cool. Let's take a look a little bit more, maybe zoomed in on. I think the fans really want to see a little bit. Okay, as we head into the next dive, so we have like the first fight obviously being won by the Soul side of things. You've got good sleeping as well, so good sleeping coming from Bebe. Mag's got that primal running in. It does seem like, you know, with the K sideline pushing in, it's a very. I mean, whenever Decay's on Tracer, I think we can both agree Decay's absolutely one of the best Tracers out there. So, seeing his POV is going to be a bit of a should be a bit of a treat.
Yeah, and again, that's one of those things. You know, I think my first 2 or 3 scrims when I was on a pro team, you know, I was probably supposed to be. This is when I was on NYXL. I was supposed to be watching Mono, or I was supposed to be watching someone else, and I was just watching Jonax. I was like, man, I just want to see how these guys work, because it is special. And yeah, I mean, Decay is one of those guys. It's special to see what he can do on this hero.
Seeing Mag and Fury work together as well should be quite interesting. Mag swapped over to Ball now, by the way, as well. So that's quite. So you guys are changing up things a little bit. I think he did actually start on the Winston, which is one of his more well-known heroes. But we are heading towards. Well, we are actually in, not even towards. We're just deep in a Ball meta currently. And so I hadn't had a lot of chances to see Mag. Well, I remember in Contenders' career, I mostly only just saw him play Ryan and Winston, and he wasn't really there for most of the Ball meta. So that would be quite interesting moving forward to seeing, you know, what Mag's going to be bringing to the table there as one of, I think, the hottest rookies in terms of name value, in terms of, you know, expectations. Yeah,
and we're really excited. Yeah, I think that Winston is definitely, yeah, one of those heroes that he's going to be known for. But I think the thing that I'm most excited about with Mag is that I think he is one of the only main tanks in the league that I think can play every main tank effectively. And so we kind of benefit from that synergy of, you know, you don't have to be swapping out and messing with like the vibe and the synergy of your players. And, you know, if it's a Rhine meta, you have to play your Rhine specialist, and then if it's a double shield, you know, are you rotating? Yeah, Mag can really just play all of these heroes at a really high level.
And you guys, by the way, have obviously all your players are currently in Korea, so this is why we're on we're playing against Seoul in this particular matchup. Seoul, by the way, who have a Korean broadcast going on, so props to them for doing their side of things. Obviously, on the Justice stream over here, we're doing the English side of things, taking a look more from the Justice POV a little bit. And, you know, you guys are going to be eventually heading back to NA and kind of taking this meta with you guys. And we saw some different stuff in the Steel Series event yesterday. We saw a little bit of, you know, especially what the European teams are doing. You know, is this just the massive difference between APAC and NA? Like, is this just, you know, what's the thing you noticed the most about the differences?
Yeah, I think that the differences are, like, I think partially coming from just the hero pools from the teams that we're seeing. It's interesting because there's critiques from, like, you know, different people from different sides about is Overwatch at the pro level, are we kind of a little bit too much of a slave to the meta? As we, you know, as the Justice grab our first map here, a indicator of things to come.
Well done.
Yeah, and so yeah, there's definitely the critique that at the pro level, you know, people are a bit of a slave to the meta. You know, that's why the hero pools and kind of patch changes are somewhat justified. But some people say, you know, you want to be able to change things up because the pros just get convinced that one composition is the best and they run it over and over and over again, and no one breaks from the trend. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see if, yeah, you know, if we bring this composition. I mean, we think that this is superior to like that Rush comp, but maybe it's kind of like, you know, Justice Season 3 in the playoffs, everyone moved off of the Zarya Hog comp because they said, you know, it's just inferior, and then, you know, we figured it out. And so I'm wondering, yeah, maybe some of these Euro teams, maybe they've just figured out Rush to a level that the APAC team is good in.
Well, we're seeing actually Mag stay on the Winston here as well. So, you know, in terms of how the diving, we talked a little bit about Mag's hero pool. You did mention that he plays basically everything at a super high level. You guys have definitely kind of, at least for now, kind of favored the Winston Zarya double bubble kind of style. You got Bebe coming through in the Ana multiple times as well. Let's sort of start with Jerry's playing the Ashe here. I actually think, you know, possibly the McCree also works here. Obviously, Supreme and the rest of your coaching staff have some strong ideas about maybe how some of these maps kind of go. I don't know what your sort of thoughts on that, or if you have any sort of insight that you'd be willing to share in terms of how you guys are working this particular, you know, even this, in this particular matchup where I probably be looking towards, you know, Marvel looking on the ball is a little bit more standard. Mag staying on the Winston, you guys playing more double bubble. Is that more Justice kind of style? What are you guys looking for there?
Yeah, I mean, I think once you kind of get to the APAC meta that you're seeing here, there is still some experimentation. Like, I think that because you're seeing the difference between our team and Seoul, it's not really because, you know, we think that Mag's a better Winston player than he is a ball player, or that, like, we don't think that, like, Bebe's Zen is as effective as his Ana. I think that there is still this kind of tinkering, which is nice, right? We haven't settled into like everything isn't a mirror. I think that this is it's actually pretty frequent that we see something like this, where, like, there's like just a small change. I think from the scrims I've been observing, we actually have seen a lot of Mag on ball. So this is a little bit different. It's a bit of a treat for me. He's been kind of grinding ball. I think this is more of a comfort pick for him. That, you know, he's probably been working on ball and probably been playing that more in scrims than I'm used to. So this is nice. I like the swap.
Well, let's see how the rest of these kind of fights go, because Fury does have Grav up available now, and Decay, I mean, we're looking towards Grav Pulse here. Creative is not quite there, so depending on the timing, maybe you guys can get in there nice and early. Obviously, with the double bubble kind of composition, I think a lot of this is going to come down to Bebe putting the nano onto Mag. He's going to get Primal off of that. Both of these sub-maps so far in terms of the runs have been pretty close, though. So, you know, and one thing I'm actually just speaking on the other side of things as well, that's been doing quite well as his name shows up the kill feed, is actually Sabiel, because he was someone that I think kind of underperformed the Nexus, but he actually looks like he's been doing quite well, and he gets Mag down before Mag finds Primal, which is pretty huge for the Seoul team, as you guys are having to just kind of throw in this Grav now off the back of a nano from Bebe to try and get this fight going.
Yeah, and that's something I was about to swap to the Fury POV there, and, you know, we put the Grav in there, and it doesn't pay off this time, but I think that's something that I've always envied when I watched the Shock. Something that I was always very impressed with is that they were not afraid to invest ults into what looked like a losing fight, because they had the confidence and the ego to say, you know what, we're down 2, but, like, we see the ult economy and we can see a win angle here, and here we are kind of turning this fight around, and that's something that, you know, previous iterations of the Justice, I don't think had that confidence, you know, to say, you know, we're down 1, you know, let's, like, we're down 1, let's regroup. But here, you know, like, Fury's in there, he's saying, hey, I'm a high charge, I can get value here, maybe I die, but maybe the team still wins the fight. And I think seeing those opportunities is definitely different for us.
And that's huge, by the way, because I think you nailed it when you talked about the Shock having that level of confidence, because I think if you don't have that confidence, you will never find the type of team fights where it's going poorly, but you could turn around. If your mentality is like, oh, we're losing, let's just reset this one, let's just, you know, sack ourselves, reset, and go for the next. You'll never sort of find the team fights where, hey, maybe you could actually win. I think that does kind of separate the good teams from the really great teams.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's a massive point, I think. So, and you guys have a big ultimate advantage for this fight as well. So I think this one is a strong possibility of heading to double 99.
Yeah, I like it though. We're seeing some really good showing from both sides. You know, I think as much as, you know, this is just a scrim, and at the end of the day, everyone will say that, you know, not too much of a season indicator here, but, you know, no one wants to look bad. This is 2 rosters that people haven't seen a lot of yet. So yeah, I think everyone's excited and kind of wants to feel the hype, and I think Jerry's looking great. I'm excited to have Jerry on the team this year. I think he's a special player as well.
And that's the thing as well, because Jerry was one of those massive up-and-coming players last season, and, you know, he really made his name on stage, and now I think you guys giving him a shot on your very, very good roster. This is, I think, a good possibility for you guys to develop Jerry into a real superstar player, because you've got superstars across the board, and now we have hit that 99-99. I think you guys are going to win the first map, because Creative is going to try and just stall this one out with the Transcendence, but you guys got way more going for you. So well done. Washington Justice versus Seoul, map 1 in the books, and it's a 2-0 as well. Do we go all 3 rounds here in a scrim? I think we do. So we'll be going over towards what's the last one we still haven't done yet? Village as well. Is that correct? We are.
Yeah. I think that we are sticking with that scrim mentality, and yeah, that's another kind of fun thing that we're happy to be able to give the fans perspective on. You know, we'll count this in our little scrim log as a win, but yeah, we want to get a chance to practice all of these, because we don't know which rotation we'll get in a real match.
So we've got the Fury cam this time, and I think this is one of the absolute top tank lines in the entire league this season. And I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. So the Fury Mag tank line is definitely one of the most high expectation kind of tank lines. So get the good chance to see Fury come through on the Zarya. I think Fury, for the most part, I think his Diva is what most people remember, but I think, you know, seeing a bit of Zarya in here as well. I don't know if you guys will be playing any Sigma. I'm sure Fury has that in the bag, but especially for this kind of matchup. So you guys, seeing how you guys will be working this Mag Fury tank line, I think is going to be pretty core to your team play. So this is something I've been looking forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that for us, you know, it's our own little microcosm of the Apex New Kids on the Block, right? You have Fury, you know, season 1 champion, one of the guys that, you know, big guy in Apex, kind of came to the league, and it has been great the whole time he's here. And then you have Mag, like the definition of the New Kid on the Block, right? Really highly scouted coming out of contenders. Yeah, and I think that their synergy is already there, and it's great, but it can get so much better, and in the best possible way, right? Like, I think there's a really high ceiling on their tank play, which we're getting a chance to see now.
Speaking of the tank line, just really quickly as well, you guys do still have Rhea on the team, is that correct?
Correct. Yeah.
Is there any? I don't know if you'd be willing to talk about it at all, but you know, what's your sort of take on how you're going to be integrating or using or looking at some of the extra players you'll have on your roster? I assume Mag is going to be the starter, so that being the case, you know, where do players like Rhea, Tuba, and everyone else come in? And you've got Jury, obviously, in this particular game. We know Assassin's still out there, so where does everyone else kind of come in your opinion?
Yeah, so I mean, even you know, last year, one of the things that we were always really adamant about was we wanted to be a team where all of our players had a path to the stage. So our supports, you know, they're going to see a lot of the stage. That's just the way it's going to go with having two. I think on that DPS side, we're really having opportunity because of the depth there to allow everyone to play to their strengths. Jerry, I think, is a really strong hit scan. His McCree, Ashe, his Hanzo, and Double Sniper are all very strong. I think Assassin looks great on Echo, on Sombra. Tuba's Genji obviously is fantastic. I think in the off-tank role, it's a little bit more nuanced of an approach there. I think one of the things that we're getting, you know, is that opportunity. The most obvious and the highest payoff is if there ever is a double off-tank meta. We have that covered. But Rhea's just extremely flexible. Can really play a lot of heroes that are really high level. Is also another great veteran presence. Has a great head for the game. And is also someone that, and this is something that, you know, we haven't talked too much about, but with Overwatch 2 coming around the corner, something that GMs have had to think about is, you know, how are we thinking about building these teams for the long term? And we don't know, like, what if like all of these main tanks turn into these brawler type classes? And, you know, if you can get good talent to some degree, you just get good talent and you find where they're going to play. And that's kind of a bit of the story for Rhea as well.
That's cool. That is, you know, good long-term sort of building philosophy there. And you guys are now getting a pretty decent cleanup on this fight as well. I just saw, by the way, just as we were talking about this subject, Mag went down to something like below 50 HP and survived, so that was ridiculous. He had Fury in the pocket as well, who was getting nanoed and running in, which is, I think in this comp, kind of an underrated thing. I think people forget, like, in a double bubble composition, it's not just about dropping a nano onto your Winston, you know. I think putting it on a really good Zarya player who's high charge as well is really powerful. So, and another, I think, sub-map here in another round that is looking like it'll go pretty close. You know, we got you guys on about 60% now. Seoul do look like they take a bit of an early lead across the board.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've kind of let them get to that 95 to 99 on all three right? here, and then all of a sudden, kind of the ult economy just clicks for the last couple of fights. I'm hoping we pull it out here as well, but I think this might be the trickiest one of the three.
Yeah, a team likes to keep you on your toes. You know, just give you a bit of an extra heart attack. They'll give you a bit of stress in there, like, hey, maybe we're gonna lose, and then we'll see. I mean, you got Grab Bomb coming up, losing Jerry to say Belby, who again is a player that in this particular scrim so far has been like really stepping up. I was kind of, again, to reiterate what I said earlier, but in Nexus, I felt like Sabilby wasn't really there, but finding his place on the Soul roster is going to be quite interesting as well, because he's obviously competing with Prophet for that specific Tracer slot. Now we are into that final fight. Decay did use his Pulse earlier. It looks like you guys may be missing a little bit of damage here. Obviously, Creative used the Transcendence also. So it's going to come down to a brawl. Mag's going to receive Nano, have to go towards the Primal, and hope that Fury can respawn in time.
Let's see if we can get the man, the legend, the Primals.
Primal's so clean.
They're so good, man. Oh, it's just great to watch. It's and there it is again. You know that. Well, 99 but no further is kind of the idea. The little stick there from
You're
Decay.
teasing Soul. You like to give Soul some crumbs to chew on, but you swipe it away the last second. Like, no, that's my map. So there it is. The end of the day, Mag Primal carry, and one of my favorite Primal Rage players to look at as well during that ultimate. I think the first time everyone remembers Mira, and then you remember Gushui going hardcore on the Primal, but now I think it's Mag's turn, right? So map number 1 done. A 3-0 on the map on the poll. As a representative of the Justice, pretty happy with what you saw. What's how do you think of it? How do you think that map went for you?
Yeah, no, happy to see that, and that's, I mean, if we talk about like the qualities that are present in the mentality of a winning team, I think that like always winnable mentality, which I mean I bring up Shock, but like they are like one of those better teams, and like we will not forget being up 2-0 in the playoffs and then getting reverse swept, and like that, it's that always winnable mentality. So like that's one. Yeah. And then
or the Justice Homestand version with the Janice.
Yep. Yeah, of all the teams, we have learned that lesson more than once, so I hope we don't have to learn it again. And then I think the other thing, and I think you and I have actually talked about this a little bit, that's going to be really relevant for this season, is with the fewer number of maps per tournament cycle. Every map counts, right? It's not just about wins anymore. That map differential, I think, is going to matter a lot more. So one of the things that I like to see in something like that, where it's a 3-0, is that I think a weaker mental team might say, we have the win, right? Like on our scrim chart, we're up 2-0. This will count as a win. So let's just like mail it in for the third map. Soul's at 99, right. We're at 65. It's gonna take. I'm gonna have to like sweat a bit to like turn this around. So let's just like let it be. But like they're not just putting on a show for the fans here. Like this is the mentality that this team has. Like it is very much a winning mentality. So that would be like one of my takeaways there. As I'm going back and watching through it, like good on you. Like keep the foot on the pedal.
This is important, right? I think people have to remember. I think people might get a little bit. Maybe they get cold feet at the open scrim kind of title here, but I think people have to remember that, as far as scrims go, teams pretty much should be and are taking scrims pretty seriously. I mean, I look at this particular game, very competitive game. Looks like both teams were very much trying their hardest there, which is exactly what I think everyone's here to see, and what you would want to see in a scrim anyway. No one wants to waste their time in a scrim. So that was a really exciting map overall. I mean, we got 3 very close sub maps there, 3 very close rounds. Very pleased to see, I think, Mag in particular. No surprises there, but very pleased to see Mag getting a lot of value on the Winston in what I thought was going to be a very heavy ball meta. Seeing Mag still getting massive value on the Winston, as you'd expect. I think it's probably, he's one of the best Winstons I've definitely seen. And seeing some of the others there really pull up their weight. We saw a little bit of Jerry earlier on. This doesn't look like the type of team that's going to be the Decay go carry kind of team right now, because I think we even saw at the start that Decay had a couple of moments where he did go down and the team had to kind of come back. You guys obviously had to do a lot of coming back on that map, right? Because you were down, Seoul were close to 99 or in the 90s. You guys had to come back from like a 40-50% plus deficit. So it does seem like it's a very well, from what I can tell in the first map so far, very well-rounded team. A lot of threats on the board, which is what you want to see. You've moved up. You don't just have that one queen piece on the chessboard. You've cheated and gotten yourself extra queens on there, which is, I think, is going to make your team quite powerful.
Move some pawns to the back, right? Got some trades. I played chess in like middle school. I can bring the chess references. We're definitely beyond that. And I think that as we built this roster, kind of people figured that out. And it's exciting for multiple reasons, right? It's exciting because we have a strong roster, but it's also like heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? So like I think Decay was able to, at the end of last season, really kind of strap in and say like, we're gonna go hard here. But this is a game in a league that I think notoriously has been very stressful on players' mental. And so like I don't think Decay would have been long for this league if we had done what some people were thinking we might, which was like the Decay and Friends roster, and I think that we are right. I think we're pretty far from that right now. This could, I mean, if you look at this roster, this could turn into there are a couple people on this team that could be like the X and Friends of many other rosters. So we're very excited for the crew that we've put together. I
mean, it looks great so far. So what's the sort of as far as scrims goes, I think a lot of fans probably are not very aware of how the scrim structure kind of works. So, what do you guys do now in scrims? So the losing team picks the next map, and you guys just play the entire thing out. Obviously, in scrims, as far as the map types goes, we're going to be playing the full map out, no matter who caps where, right? Is that
exactly?
That should be correct?
Yeah. So yeah, generally it's we'll alternate picking maps. So in this, we've gone with let me make sure I still have your sound there. In this we've gone with the losing team picks, but yeah, in a traditional scrim, it's just alternating back and forth. We often don't force a map type. So like we've had scrims where the other team has just chosen to do all 3 control maps in an Overwatch League pool because they just really need to work on it. You know, there's usually back and forth with coaches because you want everyone to be okay with like, okay, we're really trying to work on control. Are you guys okay with that too? Because that's how you get, you know, not blacklisted, but like gray listed. Like, hey, you know, we want to make sure that we're getting a team where we get good reps in as well. So yeah, and then exactly as you said, yeah. So we're moving into that hybrid. I can pull up our kind of first 3 maps here. So we're going to move into hybrid, and exactly as you said. So in hybrid, no matter how far the first attacking team gets, we'll kind of we're in a map mode where it will save where they are. So if they cap the payload and move it maybe halfway from first point to second, you'll still see that little golden box of victory. But it might be a little bit disorienting because the other team can just continue pushing past it. Exactly.
Yeah, so that's and do you guys normally play in a block? Is it just like 3 maps? How many? What does a scrim block kind of look like? So I noticed we're doing the 3 maps today. Is that kind of how it works? Or
so normally it's 6. So it's usually a 2-hour block, 6
Right.
maps. Recently we've only been getting through 5 in a lot of our scrims. And I think it's part of that is because it's preseason. You know, when the season is on and everyone wants to get their maps in. If there's 10 minutes left in the scrim, you just start the map because everyone knows you want to do it. But like right now it's the off season, so you know there's like 10 minutes left, and everyone's like, "Do you want to do one more?" And everyone's like, "Nah, that's good. Then we'll call it there." So right now, yeah, 5 to 6, but yeah, in season it's definitely 6 full maps.
And then where do you guys go from there? So I mean, I think this is quite interesting for fans who don't quite understand like what the practice kind of schedule kind of method is. So then when do you guys fit in stuff like reviews and coaching stuff? Like do you guys do coaching between maps, between rounds? Do you guys wait until the entire block is over as we head into the next map?
Initiating match.
Yeah, so our scrim blocks, so it's usually a 2-hour scrim block, a 1-hour break, and then a 2-hour scrim block. We've experimented with kind of trying to do like long form review between the 2 blocks, but usually I mean these are very demanding, and I think like in crunch time, like in that playoff run, we were doing review whenever they weren't shoving food into their mouths. But in a regular season format, yeah, we give them that hour for downtime, for having a snack. One of the things I've teased actually that I'm really excited about for the Justice is that for our new facility, it's actually going to be in the same building as the apartments for the players. So they're going to have the option, you have a really bad first scrim, pop upstairs, grab a shower, like rinse off that bad energy from that scrim, and let's go again, get back down here, with 10 minutes to go before the next scrim, and we'll be good. So yes, that's kind of that 5-hour block, and then after that we'll usually grab dinner together. That's kind of our after the second block chance to recuperate and let everyone rest a bit, and then there'll be 2+ hours of going over that day's videos, usually starting with like a group format where the coaches are leading it and the players are weighing in, and then we'll break out into players getting a chance to play ranked, or and while they're playing ranked, coaches can kind of come in, tap them on the shoulder, and say, hey, come over here. I noticed something. Let's go through this one-on-one.
Yeah, it sounds like a pretty holistic 8-hour-ish kind of day, plus or minus a couple hours here or there or something like that. So
absolutely, yeah.
A good insight into how teams, or at least specifically this team, but I imagine a lot of teams follow maybe something within the realm of how scrim culture and how professional play work life kind of looks like as we head into our second map so far. And
yeah,
I think
I'm loving this duel, this Saviobi Decay. Although that was the Decay and Friends versus Saviobi. I think he he didn't get the pure 1v1 he wanted there. We saw Mag kind of getting in there and
Absolutely.
Chewy with the final blow. So that's I'm gonna call that good teamwork, you know.
So people are saying that I think Prophet is out today because of an injury, so we're not going to be seeing any Prophet. So it's going to be Saebelby Fitz the entire time. It is going to give us a lot of good Tracer versus Tracer. I think, you know, Saebelby's role on the team, from what I can tell, obviously I don't have the actual answer, but it does seem like Saebel is going to be more of a Tracer special. We know Fitz is a very good Sombra player as well. I actually was quite impressed by Fitz's Sombra versus Shanghai specifically. Saebelby does go down to Jerry here as well. We are seeing Mag on the ball to start things out with as well, so, you know, changing things up slightly, seeing some of the ball mechanics coming through. You guys look like you have a very strong control over this opening archway, over the opening choke. And so far, Seoul have spent about a minute and a half really struggling to maybe make some headway as they're building up towards the first EMP. So I think that's my next looking point, really seeing how you guys handle this EMP. Bebe is probably a little too far away from Transcendence, so you guys are going to need to probably space here or look for some sort of counterplay.
Oh yeah, I think Fitz, I feel like a little bit of a panic EMP there. I think maybe he could have gotten more for that. We'll see. He might get punished, but the supports are there. You know, they're getting up there. I thought they might have been a little bit too
He lives
far
on
back,
like 1
but
HP again.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, the amount of times I saw Mag on Runaway where he's just alive on 1 HP and somehow is surviving. Some of that will be coming down to the fact that he is playing ball, which has a lot of survivability, but that is a hard pill to swallow, right? for the opponents to be like, man, this tank is on 1 HP.
That's a tilter, yeah.
He did go down there with Fury down again. I think this is probably going to be the end of your defense, well, unless Decay could have maybe hit a really sick pulse here. Jerry would have to kind of pop off here. Maybe did try and trance. I don't know if that was to try and save Fury, but both your tanks kind of got staggered there. I noticed the Fury went down. Mag took a while to go down, then he goes down, Fury comes back, goes down. But you bled a lot of time off. You've got some good ults available now, especially with the grabs, so this could be a really good fight coming up. Creative will be able to counter those, so we'll see how that works.
Yeah, and AVRL, I love your kind of pointing out there. I know, you know, from the casual fan perspective, sometimes the question is, you know, like, how can I be? I think one of the things that when I was working with Wizard Young, we talked a lot about, like, how can casual fans get better? Like, one of the first things you can do is ult tracking, right? And so looking at, like, that baby, like, you know, the EMP versus trans race, and then it may seem super simple, but, like, that's something that will probably come up in, like, our coach discussion, right? It's like, okay, we knew they had a Sombra. We saw at the very beginning that we were on Decay's POV, and we were watching him spy checking, like, way into the backline from the beginning. And so at that point, like, is it were we not prioritizing heals correctly? Were like where was the mistake? Like, where was the disconnect, right? Because this is, especially in these competitions, we are seeing a lot of Sombra, we are seeing a lot of Zen. And so, yeah, I think that's, it was a great call out there. That's something that we can definitely, that's an insight that our coaches would definitely have potential to dig into.
Now, do you guys have, and again, it's something that, you know, if you're willing to speak on it, do you guys have access to, like, in-scrim stats, stuff like that? Because I think one stat that is actually reasonably important for Zenyatta is actually looking at the damage profile, because Zenyatta healing itself is usually not enough to get your ultimate. You do need to add a lot of damage. So you guys have access to, you know, stats that your coaches then look at and try and analyze as well?
Yeah, and I think I'm a little disappointed. I guess it makes for a cleaner visual here, but the map mode that we use in scrims actually usually has like a stat tracker in the upper left, like this neon green. And maybe I can share like a screen cap of that on my Twitter after, or actually, there's a great chance to plug this stream after this. AVRL and I are going to be on Twitch, kind of talking
your stream,
about this. Yeah. And what we usually get is like a cool little stat there, where it shows specific stats for tanks, DPS, and healers. So for like DPS, it shows damage done, damage taken, first deaths. I forget what the other two stats are off the top of my head. But they're
Ultimates
like
used, maybe?
Yeah. I think ultimates used, and I forget what the last one is. But like really good stats, right? Like you could do like elims and deaths, but we're not like that. That's a cool like Blizzard stat, like you know, 65 elims. It's
not useful to coach.
Yeah, we don't care. Like that's really not that useful for us. But like first deaths absolutely is. You know, yeah, ultimates used absolutely is. Damage taken, right? That's something that's not, to my knowledge, that's not really tracked.
I wonder,
like
it's just,
yeah.
I think you can get damage taken. I've seen that in some like more tier 2 and below scrims, that when they use workshop, there is going to be a damage taken stat. But usually there's nothing major coming out of that, unless like a support's dying a lot. You see supports taking too much damage, or maybe one of your DPSs. There was actually another. Oh, I'm trying to remember now. I got sidetracked. I'm trying to remember. There was one
is there a
stat.
boop
Yeah,
here?
ult efficiency.
I was excited. Sorry, I saw Closer moving in there. I thought he was gonna have the boop, but he didn't. Sorry, I'm cutting you off there. I'm getting
Decay and
hyped
Fury
watching
cleaned
these
up though,
guys.
so you got about 30 seconds left. So actually, we'll finish. We'll see what happens in the last 30 seconds before I move on to something else I'm quite curious about stat-wise. But it does look like here, in terms of having grab pulse, it looks like every time I check in on the ultimates, you guys have grab pulse ready to go. You know, it's just boom. Decay's got a lot of damage done. Fury's up there as well. And creative nearly onto the transcendence. It's about 15 seconds here. It will. I think you guys look like you're too stacked on ultimates to lose. It does seem that way. About 5 ultimates coming up for you guys.
And yeah, I think we saw Fitz make the swap onto the Ashe there. I wasn't gonna be able to get the Bob in time. But I know we say that, but that was a great stick. Again, Baby's a little slow with the trans there. Would have loved to have had that for the stick.
Cadence,
so we'll see.
Decay didn't go for the ult either, actually.
Yeah, maybe we get a Mag's gonna be able to get out. We get a regroup here. We get one more fight before the cap.
So now you're going to have to play up against their grab, which I think this time around, Baby, if just a little bit more time. I don't know how Mag got caught, actually, which is
yeah, that was
bit
unfortunate. Yeah, we lost both the tanks there. That's too bad. Oh,
Yeah, so you're gonna get capped. I think that was definitely you. At one stage, you had 4 ultimates coming up to 5, and I think maybe Baby just did a little bit more ult charge. Could have had the trance ready to go. Part of me also thinks if Decay just went for the pulse play with Fury's grab, if you just get the counter trade, sometimes I think in an overtime situation, because to me the kills in overtime have a huge impact. I'm sure you know that with the longer respawn time. So just getting any sort of trades, slowing down Soul's push would have definitely allowed you guys to regroup really effectively for the cart. But as we're extending the map a little bit, maybe this is going to be a good chance to go for it as Animo pops in the rally and Baby counter transfers here. But ult efficiency is a really interesting stat for me. Just like, how much extra damage doing the pulses, how many extra people you're EMPing, stuff like that. I don't know if that's actually an ult that's a stat that's available.
Not really. Not in a game mode or anything like that. That's gonna be something more that we were using a lot more like at Nick. So that's much more of like a Wizard Kong kind of stat that when he had like his army of analysts.
It's a very nerdy stat, right?
Yeah, he was very interested in that, and it's also like a very manually intensive stat, right? That's something that you're gonna have to like go back and watch and clip a lot. And so we have to be careful, right? As staff and coaches, we would love to have every stat in the game at our fingertips, but there's burnout in players, there's burnout in coaches as well. So you want to make sure you're
absolutely,
yeah, you're kind of make sure you're getting the right information for the amount of effort you're putting in.
Looks like you guys are going to get snowballed here a little bit. You will force the overtime, which is decent, but it's basically Soul coming in from that one fight.
Yeah,
where
that one
a couple of your players died, and then it's just one big snowball from there. Pretty big push from Soul.
Yeah, credit to Saviobi there. I think that was his stick that kind of started things off. It was that stick, and then like you said, it was that so his stick onto Bebe. Bebe didn't have the trans. I think that kind of snowballed from there. So kind of it shows you, right? And that's, again, those are all kind of little things that we can learn from. Fun learning moments now, less fun learning moments in the season.
It still is a scrim. It's going to be the sort of situation where we get to see. It's good, actually. It's almost kind of good to also see some of the mistakes coming in as well. Just to, I don't know. It makes the game a little interesting here. It gives us a little bit more to talk about, and kind of humanizes everyone as well. I mean, I think there's some very, almost godlike-esque players across both teams. So just seeing where even in scrims at this level, where things could, even small things like, if this person had a little bit more charge, or this thing was a little bit different here. So it's quite cool to even see that. And now moving over to your attack now, doesn't look like there's a lot of changes here. Obviously, we're going back more towards the more Nepal type composition. It's Mag back on Winston, Baby back on towards the Ana as well. So it's going to look more like the double bubble that we saw in Nepal.
Yeah, and I think as a chat and commentating team here, let's keep an eye on Baby. I'd love to see like when we're kind of making our decisions here on, as I said, in this APAC meta, like that brig is pretty locked in across a lot of these maps, and then it comes down to, are you going to get more value from that Zen or from that Ana? On attack, obviously, Ana's going to have a little bit of that benefit. Like, our coaches will be sitting here and saying, on defense, is this viable? Can we get away with not having a great grav counter, or like and playing wide, or is like
he's pushing up a lot. Well, that was kind of risky, actually. So Baby just push up and take advantage of damage. One thing I actually think is quite interesting is, and you guys were doing this maybe about in the first 20-ish kind of seconds, but Mag was purposely taking a lot of damage that Baby could get the ult charge. So for people that are not sort of aware, a lot of double bubble strategy comes down to kind of just feeding the nano boost over to your Ana quickly and then getting this nano into primal going. You guys have kind of popped in for a very early aggressive dive. I think my internal timer, I don't know if this is accurate, this might be completely rubbish, and Supreme might look back at this and say, what is AVRL talking about? But in my mind, when I look at double bubble, especially on attack, I'm looking for like a sub 1 minute or about a 1 minute nano boost available, then send your Winston in to try and get some stuff going on, and maybe they could get a primal off that as well. This particular fight did seem a little bit slightly more forced. It was maybe you guys saw an opening. You would have had to see it from maybe Mag's POV. Possibly he saw an opening and you guys went in together on that, and then kind of just eventually evolved into an actual fight. But it is going to be now 1:30, and now finally the nano's going to come through.
Yeah, you're right. We feel a little bit split here on this choke. We're gonna have to wait for the cooldown on the bubble for Mag to get aggressive again. Didn't lose anyone in that first engagement. Didn't get a ton from the nano either, though.
The nano ends up being not the most impactful, but I think this is a huge kill. The K killing creative without him using Transcendence is possibly going to give you guys a lot to work with. But again, we talk about Sabiel. Free this fight. SBB heard everyone talking smack after Nexus, and he's going off now. He's got a point to prove that if there was, I think everyone remembers that point when everyone's like, I think Zoe asked the question to SBB when in YXL won a stage, and they're like, she was like, so Sabiel, are you the best tracer in the world? And he said yes. So Sabiel was trying to get back into that kind of peak form right now, and it's looking pretty powerful. About 1 minute 30 left. Trying to find out what's remaining here. You got your DPS ults available pretty much. Fury's nearly on a grab, so still a lot of chances to get through here, but creative, I'm going to be looking forward to seeing how maybe he thinks about countering this one.
Yeah, I think we're beginning to see a bit of why this was Seoul's map pick. They look really strong here, really comfortable. We're going to see the dueling bobs here on point. Oh, huge anti,
That's a
though.
huge nade.
Oh, that nade was gigantic. Really just, yeah, you don't get a lot out of the trans, but half the team's purple.
Well, there you go. Bebe's really shown his value here, and I think maybe this is a good talking point as well. But I think a lot of people looking at your roster have kind of I think everyone's pretty satisfied, very satisfied with the tanks, very satisfied with the DPSs. People had some question marks over the supports. We're seeing Baby do some good stuff now on the Ana in that previous fight. Would you be willing to speak on any of how you guys came to finding Closer and Bebe, and how you guys kind of put the team together from the support POV, and some of the good things that you see in Bebe and Closer?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we're really happy about this. I know this is something that, from the fan perspective, when you build a great team, some role has to be the best and some role has to be the worst. But I really don't think that we ever looked at this roster and said, oh, we're really worried about these supports, right? I think, and I hope that a vote of confidence for the fans was we had the budget and the appetite for one more player. And we went for the DPS rotation, right? Because we feel that Closer and Bebe have this really kind of bend but don't break attribute, where between them, they have great coverage of all of the support hero pools. And that's something that I've talked about a lot, is that, fans, when they see teams, they want to build a fantasy team, right? They want to build like, oh, I want the best main team.
They want the dream team.
Yeah, they want the dream team. But the problem is that, like, on all of these teams, you like, resources have to go to someone, right? Like, cooldowns and abilities have to go to someone. And if every team is sitting there saying, like, I want the nano, I want the pack, I want like this, that, and the other thing, it doesn't always work that great. And I think that Closer and Bebe are just really strong, like, enabling supports. And there's going to be opportunities for them to pop off. I think Closer's Lucio is really special. Bebe's Ana, I think, is very, very strong. But I think even more so than their individual ability, they're going to make the great players on our team, like the A tier players, look S tier, because they can just they can be that kind of strong as supports.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Because you have support players that are there to support, and that's what they're there to do. Would it be good? Would every single GM and coach would love to have a Violet Moth on their team? Absolutely. But I think, the reality of the situation is that you don't have to build the dream team. You don't have to have the best in slot in every single position. I think having a sort of... I love what you said about bend, don't break, because I think that's going to be quite important. You can have supports playing the actual support role, doing their job, supporting the Riches team to make everyone else, like, Mag, Decay, and the others look extremely good, while not having bad moments, while minimizing any potential I guess, any potential lack of something coming through from them, as long as they're not feeding, they're not doing anything wrong, and they're doing the support job properly. As long as they're doing what they need to be doing in terms of their job on the team, I think you got an excellent team. So yeah, what you said there was really important in terms of, you know, how you're building a roster, where the resources are going to, and who knows, maybe if you had a team that's kind of best in slot in all positions. I mean, I've seen dream teams in other esports kind of crack when they have 5 best in slot players across, or 6 best in slot players across every single position. Maybe something else doesn't work. Maybe egos come in. Maybe something internally breaks. And I've seen those types of teams fail, actually. So sometimes it's not just about that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I saw Mag, you know, he had that primal. He was going from behind there. I thought he was gonna get on Fitz and kind of go from there, but I mean, Jester's been great on the ball this map as well. You know, that's something that is, you know, that was a swap out they made here. We have Jester instead of Marvel, and he looked great. I think he played really, really well there.
And I'm still trying to figure out exactly what Seoul are trying to do with between Jester and Marvel. I think they've both been playing kind of the same heroes. And you sort of mentioned this was the map pick coming through from Seoul, and you know, we're seeing a few things for that. To be fair, you guys were able to hold until at least through B, and sorry, you were able to push through B. So I think, you know, we probably go back to that one fight.
Yeah, we
do kind of go back to that one
fight
where, yeah, you know, it could have been a lot more even. But you see this sort of tenacity coming through from Seoul, another great team that I have very high on my list in terms of, you know, that kind of winnable mentality. I think if they didn't have that winnable mentality as well, they probably don't have that amazing stick from, say, Belby that snowballs into an entire cap. So good to see some back and forth. You know, obviously we're on the Justice stream here. I'm here with you. We'd love to see Justice get a very nice, clean win. But I think when you have 2 very strong teams coming at each other like this, it's expected that we're going to have some really good back and forth. And I actually think that's great for the fans.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely, yeah. And that's the thing, right? That with scrims and scrim bucks, you know, there's different intentions to scrims, right? You can't go into every single scrim saying, you know, we want to 6-0, and a good scrim for us is 6-0ing. And this is, you know, like, am I saying this after the map that we lost? Maybe. But, you know, they're learning opportunities in there as well, right? You want to say, hey, like, maybe we're trying to figure out, you know, like Gesture or Marvel. Maybe we're trying to figure out Rhea or Fury. So let's try something. And I like that. Yeah, I think that both teams are playing these really competitively. Yeah, this looks, I think, you know, as fans, you know, you guys are getting the first class stream in here. This is exactly what a scrim would look like. And we're gonna get one more, you know, serious. And I say serious, but I wonder if ego driven, you know, old man energy versus upstart ego is going to make the next 2 maps after these first 3 even more competitive.
It could be. I mean, that would be great. I mean, my sort of personal drive as a caster is I want to see as much as possible the most competitive games. You know, I think the main thing for me is seeing players try, even if it's a matchup that is possibly lopsided or not the highest tier matchup. Maybe it's 2 of the lower ranked teams or whatever it is. As long as people are kind of giving it their go and putting in the effort, I think that always gives really interesting games. So I'll be looking forward to the rest of the games as well. But, you know, map number 3 here is going to be your choice as a team, and I'm going to be looking forward to seeing what the teams are going to be bringing to the table here in terms of map selection or maybe even substitution. I know you guys haven't made any substitutions yet, and you do have more DPS plays. Again, I guess it'll come down to what you guys want to bring to the table today. We know that Prophet's not here. Gesture and Marvel have swapped at least once. But depending on what it is, I mean, it could be another Jerry map, because it does seem like Jerry is coming in as kind of like that hit scan sniper kind of role so far, and we've had a couple maps that really play towards that.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, something that is different than the pro games, and this is not something that is normally done, but I was going to say, you know, in pro games we don't know what the other team's roster is, and so this is something where, like, you know, maybe we see Gesture, maybe we say, oh, it's more likely that we're going to see a ball, maybe we put Assassin on Sombra. Little bit of BM, you know, you don't want to be like adjusting your comp going into a scrim. That's not the point, right? The point is, in a match, you know, you find out and your roster's locked, so you're going in.
So you have to do your substitutions like in parallel to the other team's substitutions.
Right,
so you both just gonna show up with a roster after a map, correct? Like you both make a substitution independently, so you don't know what the other team's substituting to then make your decision. So which makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, well, obviously, when you say like when it's said like that, it's like, well, yeah, it probably has to be that way, wouldn't it? Because otherwise, people would be like counter subbing and stuff.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, we'll put an assassin, and they're like, oh, okay, so this is assassin's hero pool, so then we'll make this sub, and then we're like, okay, we're just gonna make this one.
You guys do
and also
like
it's
an
3 hours
back and
blocks.
forth. Yeah. How much time do you think, I don't know about other teams, but in terms of like focusing on trying to counter the other team, in terms of watching their tape and trying to review the other team and trying to make sort of counter strats happen versus just working on your team? I assume it's probably a bit of both, and maybe some teams do more of one and less of the other, depending on where your team's at. I think maybe teams that are struggling more probably focus more on their own team, but what's your sort of take on that kind of balance?
Yeah, I think the balance very much changes over the course of the season. And I was going to talk about this, about one of the things I'm excited about for Sabiobi, for Seoul. But to directly answer your question, I think the first half of the season, there's much more of a focus on, we'll make ourselves better. If you see like obvious things that you can take advantage of in other teams to kind of get like a quick and easy win, like that's there. But something that actually Supreme and I think agreed on more so than I've agreed with any of the head coaches I've worked with in the past is the importance of enemy scouting. I think that there is like a class of pro or coach that kind of says, we will put forward the best version of our team. They view it almost more of like a track and field sport. Like if I just run the fastest mile, it doesn't matter if somebody else's is. Like mine's the fastest. This is just the best. If I put forward the best version of myself, that's our best chance. But I think at some point, like this is a team sport. This is a team and opponent centric sport. So while I think in the first half of the season you see a lot more, we will get bigger return on our investment, saying, okay, this is something that we can spend an hour working on Jerry's Ash and we can get X% back. But eventually ideally you get to this point where everyone's playing at just a really high level, and then you're going to get a little bit more back as a team looking at, okay, how can we exploit a weakness on another team or kind of prepare for them better.
And then, just in terms of like, this is kind of something I'm actually quite curious about in terms of how like coaching staff is appropriated, because I think a lot of my experience on the tier 2 side from contenders is most teams will just have the one coach, and the one coach just kind of does everything. And sometimes that one coach also fulfills the management role as well, because they don't have a manager. So it's and this is for the teams that even have staff at all, if they even have one person. So what is at the kind of Overwatch League level, and this is probably applies to a lot of different teams, but when you have a large coaching staff, and I think like compared to a lot of games at this level, I think Overwatch League has one of the most structured sort of coaching structures out there, which is to say like you have 3 or more coaching staff with other staff, and then you might look towards games like Counter-Strike where some teams will have one coach or no coaches at a very high level. So what's your sort of take on how to position your coaches? You have 3 of them, right? So how do teams, your team or maybe even other Overwatch League teams, like because you've been an analyst on NYXL as well, which I think people maybe kind of forget, like how do teams manage 3+ coaches, and how do they work together when it's actually a team of coaches versus just one guy doing it? Like how do you get the most out of your staff that way?
Yeah, that's a great question. And again, I think the justice as a result of you learn the most when you're losing, right? That's what people say. Right? You don't learn a ton when you're winning, and so the Justice have learned a lot in the last couple of seasons. And I think one of the things that we have kind of run the gamut on is number of coaches, and something that I felt that we ran into last year was a little bit of a kind of too many cooks in the kitchen thing, where you would have too many opinions from the coaches, and if we didn't kind of come out of a conversation with everyone on the same, or at least at the very least the coaches on the same page, then you're never going to get the players on the same page, because even when the coaches are all agreed in the solution, some percent of the time you're often still going to get players disagreeing. But if the coaches can't even get on the same page, like GG's, like you're just not going to go into a scrimmage on the same page, and you're not going to get the most out of it. So we went with a more stripped down version of our coaching this year. I think if you are going to have that larger staff, which Nixel did have, you have to have like a very strong hierarchy. Like the head coach, like their word is law. Like what they say, everyone else supports. And then it's the job of the assistant coaches to work with the players to get them on the same page as the head coach, and it's the analyst's job to get the like data or evidence or clips to support the opinions of the assistant coaches to support the head coach. And yeah, I think if you're going to have a bigger staff, you have to have that, because you
It's kind of like everyone listens to Supreme. Is that the kind of deal?
So Supreme. So because we have the smaller staff, right? I think the smaller staff works better for Supreme, because Supreme actually does not kind of demand that hierarchy. He is much more of like a collaborative coach, which is why we went with this more trimmed down model, because I think Supreme really values the opinions of the players, really values the opinions of his assistant coaches. And so, if we all kind of sat in a little kumbaya circle and heard out everyone's opinion on a 5-coach 12-player team, again, like, we wouldn't get anything done. So we went with coaches that we really believe in, that Supreme really trusts. And so I think our 3 coaches end up on the same page all of the time. And that's, again, like, that confidence and that vision, like, the players feel that, and it helps them stay more focused.
And I take it this is probably like some lessons learned from, previous years in Washington as well, when you've been through quite a few different staff members. I'm trying to remember where were you last? Where in terms of your position on the team, were you before you were GM? I can't remember. Were you?
I danced around. So I was an analyst at NYXL, and then came to the Justice as an assistant coach. Which at that time, and we're starting to move in here. So we've chosen, and this is what I thought we were going to choose. We're going with Dorado. Dorado's a good one for us. This is going to be fun. I'm excited for this one. But yeah. So I came over as an assistant coach. I filled in at the end when we had our little run there for the Justice with Corey and Stratus and that double sniper meta. I was actually the assistant GM during that when Kate parted ways with the team. Took a step back to kind of remain, I guess, assistant GM when Lynn came on as the GM, and then got promoted to GM after Lynn left.
Cool. And then you also had like John Gold as head coach at that one point as well. You had Wizard Young as well for an amount of time.
And so we've learned a lot from a lot of different perspectives. And I think, we've the biggest lesson that the Justice learned was kind of that, and I repeat this a lot, is like that if you don't have everyone on the same page, it doesn't matter how smart anybody is. It doesn't matter how smart your coaches are, your players are. If you guys aren't going towards the same purpose, you're going to lose to a team of guys who aren't as smart and aren't as good at the game, but they're all doing the same thing. So,
well, let's see 2021 Justice. Looks like everyone pretty good so far in terms of being on the same page. I mean, that'll only improve as the season goes on, I consume. Some Symmetra players coming through, which is, by the way, what we saw yesterday, that I posted up that screenshot of Lee Jung Tao with both teams teleported into each other.
That was ugly. That was peak Overwatch. That was hilarious.
I was like, huh? What is going on here? Is this current meta? So, a little bit of Symmetra play to get Seoul at least onto the high ground to challenge that. And you guys straight away to at least challenge the low ground, which is going to go Decay versus, I think, say, BLB on the low ground to make sure they can't get any free cart push while they actually have the high ground. So,
and
in terms of the strategy between countering and Seoul, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think I've not seen that sim port before, and I believe we full held Seoul on first the last time we played them, so I'm wondering if this is a little adjustment from them, a little, like, that's...
I'm gonna cash in that scrim bucks right there. I'm taking that one to the bank free.
This is a good map for us. I think this is, we get some great play. Actually, I think we should get a little bit of view here from our supports. I think Closer and Bebe do a really nice job here. It's so important on this with the spawn advantage that Seoul is going to have here that we really just can't lose anybody. I'm trying not to. I'm experimenting with that caster's jinx that I've heard so much about. I'm hoping that our supports here can do a good job of keeping us in the fight for this first point.
You guys have lost high ground, at least for now, so you're falling back over towards the fountain, just kind of doing some poke over to Gesture. So Gesture's going to be setting up for a bit of a flank here. I don't know if he's going to get marked by Mag or something like that. Well, Mag's going to go in. So this is where I think Closer and Bebe going to have some extra to do. I think Discord is obviously a huge factor in this kind of compositional matchup, especially in the mirror here as well. Jerry is currently doing quite well, so you guys have won this fight.
I was so excited there. I was like, Bebe was so ahead of creative in the trans, and I was like, oh, he's going to be able to trans this pulse bomb. I'm not sure if maybe he saw that we were winning the fight, so we wanted to hold on to that one. So I think we were already up 3-1 maybe in kills there, and so he felt like we would be able to get back. Didn't have to use it there to survive the pulse bomb.
Is Hookery going to have to go back through all the different POVs later as the personal coach? Is that kind of what he does on the team?
So not necessarily all of them. So again, it's kind of like how much bang for the buck. So it's more going to be like as we're going through, like, yeah, if we notice something like Bebe really struggling to get trans in time, you know, Mag dying first a lot, Jerry losing a lot of DPS 1v1s, it's more his job, and really like he'll work with all of the coaches for them to kind of agree on these are the things in that 1v1 world that we want to work on. Hawkery will take those, go do the 1v1 coaching. If we feel like we're losing things in the macro sense, if like our team strategy, the way that we're playing chokes, the way that we're playing the meta doesn't feel right, Chihuahua is going to do a lot of research there. And Supreme, I mean, you know, if I'm the general manager, he's like the general coach. He can dabble a bit in everything. He'll do the 1v1 coaching if he has to. He has great insights on meta as well. So yeah, he'll be kind of where he's needed most.
You guys had a stack of ults, by the way. I did notice you had 6 ults at the start of this one, so you had the full stack coming into this one in about 40 seconds. You're definitely spending a decent amount. You're dropping a lot of ults into the bank, but you're 1 up now. To use doesn't look like he's getting a lot out of this Transcendence, so I think what you said earlier about potentially getting a full hold, that might happen if we can get enough kills here and stagger a few extras as well.
No caster's curse on the first cast. Is that the rule?
Yeah. General manager curse doesn't exist, surely. Unless you go
surely.
no, it does only if you say something on Twitter, then the general manager curse does exist.
Oh yeah, I think it might relate
For me,
to scrim bugs, which is why I've been so careful. I've been so careful to say we feel competent, you know.
You go on Twitter before a big match like, hey, we feel really good about scrims over our last scrim. This is hey, fans, look forward to our match coming this weekend because we feel great about scrims. That's how you get yourself into. That's when, I don't know, the witch's brew starts bubbling and then you get cursed.
Yeah. And a nice little full hold there for the Justice. Really, really happy with that. I think, I mean, that to me feels textbook bend, don't break, right? That's something where that spawn difference for the defenders is such that you lose one fight, you get one team kill as the attacking team, and you've lost first. And I think Bebe and Closer there really kind of are MVPs for that. And oh my goodness, AVRL, I've been so focused on this. I have not used our cool. Can I turn that on? You guys, oh well, you know what? It's kind of okay because this is a little scuffed.
It covers the players. Oh no!
It's okay.
It needs to be a little bit higher.
Wait, we'll do this, and we'll
Nice.
There
we go.
There it is. Well, chat.
I actually didn't notice. I didn't notice because it was so. I guess it was so clear. Because look, if you're watching the stream today, I think you know who the Washington Justice are. I don't think you're going to be surprised. I don't think you're going to look at this and be like, man, who's this gesture guy on the Washington Justice? I don't think that's going to happen. So for the most part, everyone's been pretty clear. But like, I mean, what, 2.5 maps later, we did get there. The graphic does look good. Oh, we're going to have this graphic for the rest of the games as well in terms of the other matches coming on through. So it looks good. I know you put the effort into it. And because it is a scrim, by the way, just to reiterate for people at home, because it's a scrim, by the way, we're going to be potentially finishing Dorado. So we're going to be playing through the whole map, regardless of where the yellow box was. So there's a good chance here that maybe for your team pre that we get to see the whole map.
Yeah, and this will be a cool thing. Yeah, again, just see you'll see that we'll see it here in Decay's POV probably. Again, if we're I'm not seeing the stats, so I'm not sure if we're in the game mode, kind of our normal scrim game mode. I don't actually see the box there, so we might not be able to show that off to the fans. But yeah, this is one where we are going to play all the way through, kind of regardless of how far the first team got. And you know what? Actually, I'm going to hop back onto that POV. Oh. See, we swapped sides and now I'm all lost in my buttons. I wanted to see that little 1v1, but you know the CBOB Decay poke quickly. Oh, we're seeing some Widow here. Oh, but Jerry, as I say it, Jerry has my back. Knows that he doesn't need to play the Widow to get the headshots.
And I think as well, Widow's in a really interesting place in the meta. I think Widow is still really good on the very specific Widow maps like Havana or potentially Dorado A for the super long sight lines, maybe even Dorado B. But it's probably a little bit more common to see Ash across the board. I wonder if, like, I don't know how your coaching staff or even Jerry kind of feels about Widowmaker. Do you guys... I mean, because the other thing is, Decay is a fantastic Widowmaker, as we all know. And I think that's one of the key heroes that everyone remembers about Decay is maybe if the Widowmaker would ever come out again. But this is kind of like a weird meta for Widow, I think.
Yeah, and I think this is a great chance and another great shot from Fitz. A great chance for chat to kind of see. Yeah, so this is something where we are not used to seeing Widow on first tier. This is something where I think, you know, Seoul has said, you know, maybe in like our past scrims, they maybe struggled with kind of running the meta mirror, and a great stick from Saviobi there. So this is something where maybe they're thinking, okay, like the mirror doesn't work for us, so maybe we go Widow. That gives us a bit of an edge in the Widow Ashe 1v1. So then do we have to use more resources for Jerry to keep him up in that 1v1? Does that leave Decay exposed to lose the straight up versus Saviobi? So yeah, so some great kind of play that we're seeing, very kind of classic scrim experimentation.
You guys had some even trades there as well, so despite kind of losing that initial fight, it's been actually 2 minutes. It hasn't felt like it's been 2 minutes of this map so far, but we've been speeding through this opening kind of phase of A, and the ultimates have been fairly evenly traded here, so it will come down to now that both teams have roughly regrouped. I think you guys had advantage there just because a attacker spawn advantage is going to get you guys a little bit further in. Creative is kind of struggling to get back on point. It does look like you guys will be able to cap. Now, as far as playing this to competitive rules, you guys have already won, but for the rest of the scrim, so we can, you know, we can be happy about that. But the rest of the scrim now, we'll see how the snowball goes, because you guys have a decent amount of ults coming through, as Seoul did end up trying to spend a few to hold on to A, but we will be able to see B and C now, hopefully.
Yeah, and that was great. I think that one of the things, right, the double-edged sword with Widow, right, you get a great leg up in the 1v1 with Ashe, but I think it was very, very difficult there for Animo and Creative to help Fitz out. I think Mag, we saw the dive from Mag there. And I mean, the orb in the pack, especially if Mag is keeping an eye on kind of the pack usage there, are not really going to save you from an angry hamster. So we'll see. They're sticking with the Widow for now, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if that continues to kind of work out.
I mean, one of the ways you can actually, if you really wanted to buy into this 1v1, you know, I guess what I'm about to suggest wouldn't be a 1v1 anymore, but some teams do like to pocket Ashe with the Mercy. I don't know if you have any opinions on that kind of play, because when I was watching across the sort of meta, especially across APAC, there are some teams that would, if they primarily play their sort of carry role through the hit scan, whether that's Widowmaker or Ashe, they like to really put the Mercy on there. Whereas like the style of your team, maybe this is more of a Supreme question, but maybe the style of your team is more towards the, I guess, kind of typical Brigitte Zen kind of gameplay, rather than moving anywhere towards a Mercy as Saviobi gets a stick on Decay.
That was a great. They were really going after it. I wasn't sure. I saw Decay had his sticky up as well, and I wasn't sure if he was going to commit it. Saviobi did. Gets a little ego battle there. I haven't seen quite as much Mercy. Yeah, I think that the
maybe teams have moved on.
Yeah, I think that especially because that nerf went through, right, where the amped Ashe no longer headshots 200 HP characters. I think there's 195 now.
Yeah, that's right. That's a big one.
And that really, we saw a lot less of the Mercy pocket there, and especially when you're running a little bit more of like the APAC style comp. As here, we'll get. This is like Mag's great adventure. We'll get back into the action.
He's setting up for a dive. This is like he's wasting a lot of Seoul Dynasty time. Like you saw Saviobi chasing him. I don't think Mag minds at all if SBB wants to go and chase the 1v1. He's taking SBB out of the fight, so this is why like chasing ball is ultimately just a huge waste of time. And now Mag gets to have a free dive on the back line.
Yeah, gets the high ground there. So get creative here. Fitz really making the Widow work. I think this is I mean, relatively work, right? I think they're seeing more success with this than they were with the Ashe on the attack there.
I think this is a good map for Widow. I think, you know, Dorado is one of those maps like Havana where Widow has great sight lines. This is where all the Widow, a lot of Widow highlight clips come through from this map as well. You guys now have decent high ground control. I think B should realistically be yours at this point. You got all the kills. Fitz is already moving over to Ashe, which suggests to me they're grouping over for C because you don't want to be playing the Widow onto C. So Seoul have kind of given up B at this stage. So we are going to see the entire map, which is great for me and the fans here, as we have a lot more ultimates as well. Both Decay and Saviobi both have that pulse bomb, so possibly looking for plays in this opening engagement.
And we'll see. Creative, yeah, does have that advantage with Transcendence. So Bebe, I think, a little more exposed, a little more, you know, Saviobi has been hunting him with that pulse bomb, so we'll see if we can, if Closer can really kind of have Bebe's back there and, you know, keep Tracer out of the back line.
I think it's also about trying to keep up with the other Zarya. So you notice that Fury and Creative are kind of in sync, and Bebe and Tuyu are kind of in sync, where Bebe's actually ahead of Tuyu, which is what the most important thing is. So as long as, in my opinion, the Zens are keeping parity with the main ult you're trying to counter, whether that's EMP or grab or whatever else on the other side. That's kind of like the main thing here, and that's a huge solo kill from Fury as well. That's
great job
as
there.
the Ashe kind of dying to Fury is kind of weird. As say Belby's pulse got eaten up as well. I think what happened there, I think I got bubbled. It's gone anyway. Decay goes huge.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's still hungry, still going for more. I really liked Closer there. He was really on top of Sabio B. He saw the pulse bomb came out. He was able to shield that. Yeah, I think that's clean little shot there from Fitz coming out of spawn. Look at it, now Mag's having his turn. This is what I said. I mean, it's. I am happy the Justice don't have to play the Justice overall, because I mean they're just it's not a question of is someone going to pop off, but who. It's like, okay, great, we killed Decay. Well, here's Mag, and we killed Mag. Well, who was anyone looking at Fury? Like
you've done the Shanghai strategy where you signed so many good players, you prevented other teams from getting them.
Yeah,
that's what I see when I look at Shanghai. I'm like, how do you have DM and Ursa on your bench? Oh, I know why. You just prevented everyone else from having them. That makes a lot of sense now. It's like the Shanghai strategy of just stacking your team as hard as possible. But a 2-1 to sort of end the scrim portion of our scheduled entertainment for today. So a very solid 3-0, I believe it was, on the control in the poll. Close games, a hybrid where we saw Washington kind of get held up in B, and then you guys nearly held Seoul in B as well, but they kind of snowballed through. And then a Dorado where you guys end up finishing the map and you complete a full hold as you said you had done previously. So pretty good performance so far. You like what you saw across the 3 maps?
Yeah, I think if we kind of add to that list of attitudes that we want the players to have, it's always hungry for more. So like, great that we won control. It was close though, right? So that one was randomly selected. Saying we had a randomly selected map that we got the 3-0, but it was like 99 to 100 every time. Seoul got their pick, looked very strong on Eichenwald. We got our pick. I'm very happy with that performance on Dorado. But like in the playoffs, if people are choosing Eichenwald, we want to beat them at their maps too. Like that's the big mental boom, right? You can go into these matches and say, yeah, we'll just trade maps and hope that we come out on top. But it's kind of like tennis, right? Like breaking serve is big. So yeah, we'll take a look back on Eichenwald, and I think that's something that we're usually okay on that map. So we'll have, even in an open scrim, we'll have some good VOD to go back on and see where we can get better.
Just before we head to any breaks or anything like that, as the teams, I think the teams at this stage will be starting their break cycle, and we'll have some more matches coming up soon for the viewers. Just a couple more things I want to go over just while we have a little bit of time before we head for our own break. Do teams actually, something I'm super curious about in terms of, because I've been out of any sort of scrim environment for Overwatch for a long time, but is there any sort of practice philosophy or procedure around how time banks stuff is practice? Because I think that's one thing that a lot of teams, from what I remember years and years ago, most teams would practice a map and then you wouldn't ever look at time bank. But time bank I think is when a lot of the kind of clutch versus, time bank to me is a lot of where the great teams really get separated from the good teams in terms of who ends up clutching and who ends up bending but not breaking, something you've said a lot. So what's the sort of mentality behind approaching time banks in matches, and is there any sort of practice for that, or is that something that gets looked at, or like what's the philosophy behind that part of the game?
Yeah, I think the Justice are not a team that in the past has traditionally had one dominant shot caller. We're kind of seeing how this current iteration of the roster ends up panning out, but it's more of like a shot caller by committee, which is, I think, better. It has a higher ceiling and a lower floor. Because if everyone's not able to kind of, again, like get on the same page, it's just a mess. And so it's easier just to have one person, which I think is something that we've seen like teams like Boston. It's like been alluded to that like Fusions is like that guy where it's like, what, instead of getting everyone on the same page, I will get us on the same page. But then when we're looking at like time bank, that's another skill similar to alt tracking, right? We have players on our team that have very accurate alt tracking, and so they're the ones we kind of defer to as we're setting up to go into a fight to kind of make the call, like, okay, they have rally grav, we have this is how we want our ultimates to play out kind of as we're rolling into a fight. And similarly, there are players that just have that gut feeling of like tempo and how we need to be playing. And I think that this is actually something that I saw in the Steel series that I really liked. I think it was the Glads, where it's a concept in basketball, where if you have like 36 seconds left in a basketball game, each possession is only 24 seconds. And so there's something called a 2-for-1, where if you have the ball with 36 seconds left, you just kind of yeet up a shot really quickly, because it's basically free. Because if you take it with 36 seconds left, even if the other team uses the whole 24 seconds for their possession, you're going to get 12 seconds left. And those are the last 12 seconds of the game. And so that's actually something I saw that the Gladiators did, where I think they realized that there were like 2.5 fights left in the game. If they pushed really, really hard, like if they went slowly, it was like 1 fight. But because they went really quickly, they like kind of like fed a bit, but they slightly improved their ult economy, and then they won the next fight. Bit of a convoluted metaphor, but what I'm getting at here is like knowing the timing, knowing the tempo, I think is probably the best way to describe it. Is something
Absolutely,
that there are players on our team that we rely on to make that call, to say like, we need to play fast here, we need to like make this a 2-fight kind of map or something like that.
Cool. I mean, that's an interesting kind of look into how stuff happens inside scrim. So I think this is, now that we've ended the actual quote unquote scrim portion of our broadcast today, we'll be heading into Overwatch Apex mixed roster versus New Kids on the Block, and teams probably getting themselves set up for how those rosters are going to go. But I think for us at this point in time, as the players are taking a break, which I think is what they're doing now, we can probably take a little bit of a break as well. So, we'll be back in about 5 or so minutes, or whenever the teams are ready to go. I'm sure we'll just come back when you want to. So that's probably going to be it. We're ready to go on a break. And so for you guys in the audience right now, we'll see you very, very soon. Make sure you guys stick around, because when we come back, matches 4 and 5, and possibly even onwards, we'll be back here for the Washington Justice versus Seoul Dynasty Open Scrim. See you soon.
Entering King's Row. Initiating match. Ready for battle. Физкульт, привет! Attackers incoming in 30 seconds. This will heal you. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Hey everyone, and we're back. Ab will be joining us in just a moment. We are, oh, you know what? I almost forgot our overlay already. Let me get this up. So we have, oh, we're gonna have to move it again. I apologize, guys. We have the pre-production going on here. All right, almost there. There it is. So we have the Apex OGs against the new kids on the block. One of the coolest things, as Avril and I were saying about these teams, is we do have some great veterans as well as some new up-and-comers. I'm going to lean a little bit toward the newbies. You know, we threw some shade at them with the titles here, but I think they are really, really special. And, you know, led by Mag here. We'll watch his POV. See if he can get on Baby with a quick trans. Oh, but Mag goes up and gets punished by Fury. Fury on the Rhine, taking one for the team there. Gesture on Zarya. Let's see, Mag's coming back. He might not even need this Primal Rage, though. Getting the cap. Let's see if we can move up here with the team.
Came back. Hang on, just give me a second. Oh, we're actually into
Yeah,
it.
we're live. We are back. The new kids on the block are plowing through here. We're getting some match tap. We're getting a little bit of.
I made a huge mistake. I didn't realize we were already into it. See, as far as here's the thing about being an OG and a little bit older is I'm a little slow, so I'm slow enough that I've actually missed out on a lot of the action here. But apologies for that. Thank you for holding down the line, Pre. Welcome me back to the broadcast. We're so deep into it. I don't even know what's going on here. We got the team of say Belby, Prophet, and Co versus the the Decay Mag team.
Yeah, so we got the new kids on the block. The new kids on the block. They got a quick cap. We had some great play. Even though Bebe did get his trans up very quickly, it wasn't enough. We're seeing a little bit of off-roll play as well. We see Fury on the Rhine. You know, Decay on that comfort pick. But this is the GOATS throwback. This is the who's better at GOATS, new school or old school.
Now I got one thing I want to say about this. I don't know if anyone else this applies to, but there's one imposter on the newbie squad, and Animo actually played in one of the early Epic seasons.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, so
he's probably here like, why am I on this team? somebody has to shepherd the new players around.
Yeah.
So there you go. Animo was under the name Sleep back on Mighty AOD. He was actually on the same team as Fate, Kareev, Burster DM, and Coach Moon. So they were all on a team together in Apex called Mighty AOD. So that's how far those guys go back. So just a bit of lore for you, some Overwatch lore.
Nice. And I'm trying to get our ads synced up here. This is, pre-production. You have APAC production and a production pre-production. I'm doing my best here, guys.
It's okay, we'll post it in post-production, am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing You know, that Decay Zarya, which, you know, warms my heart to see. Some of my favorite memories in Overwatch League are this
warming, he's
player.
microwaving people down.
Decay. This is when the memes start, right? The Decay Go Burr memes can start now.
It certainly does. Oh boy. And I mean, Apex predates GOATs by quite a while as well. So this is like, this almost feels like an alternate history what if kind of thing happening right now. Decay on 100 energy the whole time is just destroying. Wait a minute, Fury is on Orion and gestures on the Zarya.
I wish we were on comms for that conversation. You know, Fury already on Zarya, and then Jester saying no. Oh no. this is my hero now.
Same LB on Anna, Prophet coming through as well. There's actually there's no Brig on either team, so this has got to be a Brigless kind of GOATs matchup we do have here. It's a little different to what I'm used to.
Yeah, no, I like it. I feel like, this definitely had to have been prearranged in chat. You know, kind of everyone's sick of Brig not having the pop off potential. So let's do it on a GOATs instead.
Now, I was actually going to say, like, does Decay just get every single nano? It does kind of bring me back to your playoffs run a little bit, where, you know, it was like how many Decay nanos were there? Probably quite a lot, I can imagine. To my memory,
yeah, absolutely.
Decay microwaving people down kind of playoffs run.
That's crazy. I mean, and it was easy to meme, you know, and everyone, I mean, Decay did really play well, but credit to our coaches as well for figuring out, like, it obviously wasn't as simple as, you know, Decay just go farm on Zarya. There was actually like Janu had to play so smart, like to go into kind of shield compositions and take just the right amount of damage, really help our healers build their ults really quickly, take attention off of Decay when he needed to. So there was a lot about that playoff run that went right for us. Not just Decay, but Decay was obviously a big part of it. The Decay nanos ringing in the ears of a lot of teams as they left that season.
Yeah. I think it was a lot about identifying what your place in the meta was, because I think the most exciting thing about your playoffs run last year was the fact that you were one of the teams that kind of, I wouldn't say, I don't know if discovered would be the right word, but certainly went towards, like, hang on a second, like, Zarya is pretty strong here. We could just do like a Zarya carry kind of style, and, you know, we kind of have the right pieces on the chessboard for that. You know, we have a very strong Zarya piece that we can really pull our team around, and that ends up having pretty good success for you guys. And I think that's a really smart way to approach the game and approach the meta, where as a team you do have to kind of identify where your strength in the meta could be, and it's not necessarily about copying everyone else, because I think you were one of the only teams. I'm trying to think if there was another team that was trying to do the same style, but to my memory, your team was the one that stood out as a team that was like, this is how we're going to sort of formulate our team strategy, and that was quite unique because other teams weren't doing that.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, and one of the things I'm excited about for the upcoming season is we're going to have these kind of off periods when the new patch goes live after an old tournament, where we're going to get a little bit more of a chance for the meta to kind of cement itself. I think part of the problem of what was happening last season is that teams were basically being forced to immediately kind of pick what the meta was and go, because if you spent 2 or 3 days kind of experimenting, if other teams kind of committed early on, just as a result of getting more reps, they would be better. And so what we actually saw a lot of, because there was that longer break going into the playoffs last year, is most teams started on the Zarya Roadhog. And then, like, I mean, we saw it on Twitter, right? I think Unko was one of the people that was like, you know, if you haven't figured out how to counter, like, Zarya Roadhog, like, you're probably not out of plat yet. Which, you know,
I remember that.
Yeah, like, didn't age well. Not an exact quote, but nice anti there from Bebe. Really great on Ana.
Actually got a mid-air sleep as well. He got the mid-air sleep onto who was on the other team.
We'll camp this POV for a bit. I like this. Oh, we're seeing some swaps here. We're seeing a lot of swaps here from the Apex OG. So maybe it wasn't a coordinated kind of GOATs thing. Maybe that's where we started, and now we're seeing some triple DPS, some Shanghai Dragon stuff going on here.
Yeah, but as you were saying, you know, like, Unko made the tweet, it kind of aged poorly, and then teams eventually got where they were in the meta, and you guys were one of the teams that kind of discovered what your particular strengths were going to be.
Yeah, one of the only teams that really stuck with it. I mean, and it was a bit of a push and a pull, right? I think we realized that we weren't going to... another great sleep there. Hard one to miss. But yeah, we were one of the teams that realized we weren't going to be able to play the other kind of more rush style meta as effectively as everybody else. Let's see if we can get back on here. Oh, Decay. Yeah, let's get some Decay Ryan spectating going here. What can he play? But yeah, I think like again, credit to our coaches. They really believed in the meta. They were one of the few coaching staff that I think that didn't give up on that meta. Saw a lot of the benefits to doing something unorthodox when you're trying to be an underdog, and it really paid off for them.
And now I think because you talked about how coaching was really difficult last season with all the different meta shifts and the hero pools. So I think credit to John Spector and his team and the Overwatch League staff when how they're handling hero pools this time around. I'm a big fan of, a big proponent of the fact that you're going to have an entire stage, you could call it, where it's just one hero pool. Like, I think that's the best middle ground of having hero pools exist, but not having it kind of be so volatile, so you have a chance to actually develop a meta. I think one of the most exciting things about this game is seeing teams kind of master a meta and seeing that kind of progression of, like, the Uncode tweak to eventually a team like yours coming through and really finding your own mastery of that meta. And the great thing about that is it doesn't even have to be the same as what other people are doing as well. And so you kind of get a sort of situation now in this upcoming season 4, where with the fact that it's going to be alternating hero pools, where you're going to have no hero pools and a hero pool, no hero pool, hero pool, what they end up achieving for the fans, and to explain for them, ends up being that each stage of gameplay across the different tournament stages with Melee, Count the Cup, etc., you're going to have a different meta guaranteed, which I think gives fans the best experience, gives coaches and teams the ability to actually define and master a meta, which is also then good for the fans ultimately at the end of the day as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we mentioned the stream that I had with Yiska. We were saying that it gives like journalists like him this really great opportunity for plot lines. Like, you get a really cool kind of storyline going into each of these tournaments, which I think is great for the league. And Avril, while we've been chatting here, some madness has been going on in the compositions. I saw Mag on McCree getting a pick off onto Prophet's Tracer.
Okay, got a shatter into a charge there actually as well.
Yeah, and Fury actually looked pretty clean on the far there. Was able to, I think, boop Fitz out of spawn and then kind of 2-tap him. So, hey, maybe we're gonna figure out some cheese picks for the regular season coming out of this scrim based on what these guys are playing.
Prophet Zarya is not an unknown pick either, just looking over to what he was doing.
Yeah, that's the ghost.
So,
This is a little weird here. This is I've not seen a lot of this in scrims.
The rest of it's kind of out there. You still got like Animo playing his signature on the Lucio as well. That's what he's most well known for. Say Belby trying to do his best Jonak impression, in terms of ex-teammates there. And I've never seen Mag on a McCree before. The Mag-cree is what we're going to call this one. Decent shatter coming on through.
As they were also we'll swap over here to, let me see if I can find him. Yeah, we'll swap over to Closer. Closer's, his Lucio is really, really strong. So I'm happy to see him playing this. I'm bummed we didn't get to see that in the more serious version of the scrim, but we'll take it in the meme.
So people actually forget, but Closer is not, well, he's obviously an ex-teammate of Prophet's coming from London, but he was actually an ex-teammate of Prophet's on GC Busan as well.
Yeah.
And they won 2 tournaments together. This was when, at one point in time, Closer was what I think most people, wouldn't be a hot take to say, probably the best team in the world when GC Busan was dominating everyone.
Yeah.
And they won Apex Season 4, they won Apex Premier as well in 2017, and this feels like forever ago, because I just said 2017, it's now 2021. But in terms of being, Apex OGs, like Closer, Prophet, you got actual Apex winners in here. You got Say Belby, who's been there from the start. So, yeah,
there's
Closer's had a long history.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, and you can see it. You can feel it in the games, right? There's definitely a level of respect that these guys demand. I say demand, but I mean they don't have to say it, right? Like the young guys, if they will ask the new guys will ask the old guys in scrims, like, for advice and how to play differently. How could I have done this better? And I think we're seeing some swaps here. We're getting Fury onto the Diva here. I'm wondering if the Apex OGs aren't gonna let the newbies just kind of aren't gonna hand this to them. We're seeing some swaps onto the big boy heroes here.
I mean, you got Gesture on Ryan here as well. And actually,
Yeah,
I should have included Gesture into that conversation because Gesture, Prophet, and Closer were all 3 of them on a team together for a while. So you got Gesture coming through on the Ryan. A few players actually playing their normal picks now. Aside from say BLB on the Zen, everyone's kind of on a fairly, at least on the Apex OG side, everyone's kind of on their normal or as close as possible in some cases to what you'd expect them to play. Even Prophet Zarya is not unheard of. Decay's back on Zarya now. I think we're starting to move back towards a more like, here we go. It's actually start fragging serious business kind of composition. Decay versus Prophet on the Zarya is coming on through. About a minute 20-ish kind of left here. Pretty massive grab into a trance. Decay still farming up. He got shattered. He had 100 energy.
And we're seeing why that GOATS meta lasted for so long, right? Once one team goes to GOATS, it doesn't matter what other composition you're running, you're gonna lose. So it's you rock the mirror and go with it, because that's kind of like the only option you have. But this is great. This is lots of ults. This is classic GOATS.
I wonder is, this is maybe getting a little bit speculative, but with more role defining coming through Overwatch 2, I almost wonder if there's ever going to be a day where they could even go back to a non-222 lock, because the game is designed in such a way that GOATS just isn't really viable even without it. So that could be quite interesting for a little bit later on. But a little bit of back and forth in terms of speech going on. Mag doing some bagging over there as well.
Some tactical crouches
30
from
seconds
Mag.
left.
We're gonna have to talk about that. No, this is awesome. They're having fun. That's great. See that nano gesture coming in.
I wonder if we're going to get some personality coming through when your team plays up against any of the teams that your members have been on before.
Which
I know
there'll be
Dallas,
quite a few
Dallas is
of.
the low-hanging fruit, obviously, but
Yeah.
there'll be others in there. Mag and Assassin being renowned. I actually have one really interesting one lined up for you, Pre. People kind of forget this one. This is more, I guess, outside of Overwatch League lore, but Assassin versus Yaki is actually a game I'm looking forward to, because Yaki on Runaway,
that Runaway, they were...
People forget. People forget that Assassin was on Runaway at the same time as Yaki in 2019, when Yaki was still on Runaway with Gangnam Jin and all the rest. They were Assassin basically got benched for Yaki. Like, Assassin's hero pool is almost identical to Yaki's. They play pretty much the same things across the traces, the flex picks. And Yaki was the starter there, and Assassin basically didn't get to play because Yaki existed. And then when Yaki went to the Overwatch League, Assassin suddenly became that guy for the Runaway. And so there will be a real shot now where, Washington versus Mayhem's going to be an interesting game where Assassin gets to play against the guy that basically benched him permanently on Runaway, which is going to be an interesting matchup for me. But it's just, a bit of extra lore there as well for people that don't, haven't seen the exact dots where they've connected between who's played with who on what team and what the relationships have been. So yeah, there's a lot of bonus in there in terms of narratives.
Yeah, and I think we can pull up the schedule here. Blizzard's aware of those narratives as well. So we're gonna have that Dallas matchup to kick things off. We're gonna have
Boston
2 Boston
twice.
games back to back. Jerry hopefully doing some stomping in the home grounds there. Yeah, so I think I'm really happy about our schedule. Maybe the schedule is something we can dig into in the post game as well. Which I'll do a quick plug here.
Let's go.
Something I was really excited about. AVRL is a fantastic streamer. Definitely check out his stream, guys. He does great reviews of everything that's going on in the off season, as well as some fun stuff. And I wanted to have him come in and break down some of the Justice things, but it wouldn't feel right to take any of his viewers or any of the income he has there. So we're actually going to be donating that to the Trevor Project, which is a really cool initiative that helps the I believe it's under 25 LGBTQ community, offering them support, which is something that's, I think, really important, really relevant. Something that's really nice about Overwatch is how inclusive it is. I think we have a really strong kind of fan base that is really friendly about those things. And I'm a boomer in this league. I'm one of the few that's over 25. So we're gonna be donating the proceeds from that.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah. From after this stream, we're gonna do that. So join us on Twitch, and we'll get some of these conversations that we've curtailed off to return to the scrim. We'll dig a little bit more into the schedule, the format for next year. So yeah, be sure to join us there after the scrim.
After match number 5, our the last of the Apex versus New Kids And I think a lot of what's kind of interesting is the amount of talent that's still coming through, because I think Overwatch is another game where you have you know, a lot of veteran. We're getting to the stage now where Overwatch has been out for a decent while. We're coming up to 5 years. I think this May will be the fifth year anniversary of the actual release of the game, and so I'm not talking about beta or anything else, but the actual release. We're getting to the stage now where there's very few people that have been there since 2016, and just, you know, looking across rosters and stuff like that, like the number gets lower and lower. So there's still a lot of young players coming through, people turning 18. I mean, there's a massive difference between, you know, some of the real veteran talent and some of the new talent coming through. So getting to kind of highlight that on stream is pretty interesting. Like guys like Mag coming on through who recently turned 18 versus guys who've been in the game for much longer, especially on the other team.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And well, it's something that, you know, from the GM perspective, there's like a level of the meta that I'm very interested in, which is, and I don't think this is a question that's been answered yet, but like, what is the expected like half-life of an Overwatch League player?
Yeah.
It's something where like we see for physical injuries, there's people that drop out for like, you know, like wrist or like back issues, eye issues for some players. Giannis had a collapsed lung, which is, I don't know if people know this, that's actually a fairly common thing for gamers because they tend to be sedentary for so long that like collapsed lung is actually like a fairly prevalent thing. So, you know, you have your physical injury, your mental injury, you have the perceived or not perceived fall off of kind of age and reaction time in these games. And so that's interesting. And that's something that, I mean, we're showcasing it a little bit here with our kind of Apex versus new guys. But I'm curious to see if it's something where it's a little bit like basketball. Again, I mean that's my kind of sport of choice, so that's where my
I love the analogies, by the way. It's actually good because, you know, I think taking traditional sports analogies is really important.
And so like in basketball, I mean, if you understand basketball even a little bit, you know, you're probably familiar with LeBron, who early in his career was this like big physical dominant player that would just overpower players. But now he has been in the league for like 20 seasons or something obscene, and he's adjusted his play style to like this much more kind of facilitator, kind of making the team better. He can still, you know, throw down when he needs to, and so that's like, I mean, like Sabiobi's a great example of that, right? You see someone that, as they've been around longer, do they kind of fill in this coaching role and this mentor role. But Sabiobi's also a bit of an antithesis because he still plays what is probably the twitchiest and most mechanically demanding hero, which if you were going to say that, you know, like fast twitch falls off with age, Sabiobi's still out here as a contender for best tracer in the league.
That's correct. And credit to him. And I think I would like to see Overwatch as a game that really cultivates veteran talent, because
same.
Our sister league, the Call of Duty League, does a great job of that. And I think maybe they've obviously had a longer history. Call of Duty's been out for a longer time. But you have veterans on there that have been playing since the start, like, you know, since very early COD games, and they're still playing the Call of Duty League as people in their late 20s, and some of them are still winning the league. So I would love to see the Overwatch League be the kind of game, Overwatch League and also Overwatch as a game, be the kind of game that where veteran talent is still cultivated, and you have those storylines, because I think it's important for fans. It's important to have those narratives kept alive in there. It's for fan building to have familiar names, to have you know, franchise players even that, you know, people associate with a certain team and brand, and those kind of things don't get built without veteran talent. So, you know, it's getting a bit of spotlight on some of the veteran talent in our scene is really cool.
And it's also so healthy for the players, right? Like when we're sitting down again, like as GMs and coaches, and we're trying to convince players to come into the league, I don't want to have to sit there and talk to some of these players and say, yeah, you know, we'll take 2 good years out of you, and then, you know, throw you out with not a great, admittedly not a great resume to have to explain to an employer, unfortunately, as it is in a lot of kind of places that, you know, gaming doesn't get the respect that you might hope that it does. So having that longevity is really important to me, right? It makes it a lot easier for me to say to a player, you know, like, we want you to come here for the long term. We want to invest in you. We want to like make the decisions mentally and physically that are going to allow you to stay in this industry for a while.
And we hope they do as well. I think, you know, there's something about I think most of the teams that have, I mean, I'm all for rookie rosters as well, trust me. But when you look at these two teams in particular, you look at teams like Seoul, who have guys like Prophet on there, and Gesture, you guys have a ton of veteran talent. I think, you know, a lot of people actually forget Close has been playing for a very long time and is definitely a veteran player, is a veteran champion, in fact.
Exactly, yeah.
And he gets quite underrated. I think he gets underrated because he's had a couple of rough seasons. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a bit of a renaissance for some of your older players, and you know, a huge kind of springboard for the newer guys coming on as well. And it's been really interesting seeing how all the teams have been built for the season. And I think this is going to be the type of thing where, you know, after the scrim, after we finish watching all the games, it's going to be like, man, what's next? Like, how far away is April again? When's the first game going to be starting? Because like, I'm still, every single day, I'm like, God, I just can't wait. I can't wait to get into watching the games, co-streaming them, or, you know, whatever else. J-Specs call me up. So, you know?
I mean, and it's crazy because, I mean, we're very excited. No plot spoilers, but the team will be here very soon. And that is exciting me, and things like this are exciting me. But then, you know, I load up the Overwatch League website and it's like 48 days, and I'm like, oh man, like that just feels like forever. So I'm hoping that we can maybe do something like this again, find other ways to
do some team content.
Yeah, exactly. Once like this, we're really excited about this new facility. So once we have that, once we have the players in it, Avril, I'm not sure if you caught, we did our little Justice Olympics last year. I'd love to do something like that. We had like toilet paper curling and, you know, other really high.
Did you? I think I did miss that. Now I'm gonna have to go back and find that.
That was on our Instagram live. So that was like that was a little bit more low key. That was the like the content testing grounds to see if it was good. No, but we're really excited. We're hoping to kind of keep building on this momentum and building into the season, because we're excited too. And we got that unlucky first bye week, so we gotta give the fans something to keep them, you know, to whet the appetite before we get our first game in there against the Fuel in week 2.
I mean, well, you got a pretty, you know, we're gonna get into the, trust me guys, as we're waiting, we're gonna get into the actual scheduled discussion a lot more on your stream and the post show after this, but that is a very spicy first game already, because I think Fuel is it's another team next to yours that has a lot of hype behind it. So there's a lot of benefit. I'm not gonna lie, like, yeah, sure, you get a bye week and there's some sort of factor where it's like, oh damn, you don't get to play early and your fans have to wait, but you get to kind of see the other teams a little bit and take some notes and just kind of just see what's happening, survey the ground a little bit, you know, and just kind of really get a lay of the land, which I think is quite powerful as well as you get into your opening game. And it's going to be a crazy season, considering, you know, there's not as many matches here in the regular season, so all those games kind of matter more. I think that's another thing that the league office has done so well, is making sure that I think each game kind of has a lot of weight to it. So
yeah,
again, well done, J-Specs, on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think, yeah, we sat down. We said, you know, is it a benefit or a detriment that we're missing that first week? You know, there's something to be said, I think, for getting the jitters out in like your first game there. But then we also, obviously, you know, we get the video from watching those first couple teams that we play as well. So yeah, I think we're really excited for that game. And I think the last thing that really ties in nicely with what you were saying earlier, Avril, is that when we're looking at like new versus old, I'm also curious to see over the course of the season, or like new player versus old player to the scene, do like the teams that have the veterans, do they click faster? And does it take these teams that have more of these rookies more of the season? And do we see a lot more improvement over the season because they kind of figure out the pacing of the Overwatch League versus teams that have a little bit more of that veteran perspective, can kind of lock in the team a bit faster? Because like you see a lot of that mentorship coming through from our teams as we're getting into our next game with Tuba subbed in and on the Winston.
Yeah, I'm getting some Tuba monkey comments in the chat here as well, so we finally get to see a little bit of Tuba on the Winston, nonetheless. Some Marvel Junkrat as well, so very different. Ria's coming through, so yeah, we're getting to see a few different players and a few players in different roles, like Bebe's playing a Genji this time. Prophet's on a Winston as well. Mag playing Ash. Okay.
And I have to swap. They swapped the sides on me, so I'm gonna have to get my here we go, my little banner up. Yeah, and I think I think they're. Oh wait, no, was it right the first time? I don't know. I feel like we've abandoned the model a bit.
We swapped things up.
Yeah, we've definitely swapped things up.
Prophet's on the same
lot.
team as Jerry now, so.
All right, we're gonna do away with our pretty banners for now. But I think the important thing is that Mag's team saw his performance on the McCree and told him to get on the Ashe because he's a hit scan prodigy as well as a Hoki prodigy.
I do wonder like how flexible some people are, because there was always that whole thing where sometimes you have like insane hyper flexes in the Overwatch League, and then you have the kind of like, the Fisher type of character that people remember was just like, no, I just play the tank because I actually can't really aim, and tank's the only thing I'll ever play.
Yeah. No, absolutely, yeah, and it is interesting, yeah, to see those, like, where that overlap exists, and then, yeah, when those flexes happen. I'm big tire from Marvel there. I don't hate this Winston play from Tuba. I think he's actually is. I mean, maybe it's that timing that, you play enough Genji dive with Winston, you know where you want the dives to be, and you're just ready to have it.
Yeah, I like that as well. I like that. I think we're getting some. This is possible previews for the eventual. What do we have in the past? The Taimu Winston and the Ryu Jing Hong Winston. We get some previews.
There was some weird stuff for a little bit there, where some of those rosters just did not realize the kind of the corner they painted themselves into, and they were like, well, I guess this is happening now.
Taking notes right now, Pre. You're like, you know what? Tuba Winston, I don't hate it. Supreme, maybe one day.
Hey, and you know what? I think the real benefit to Echo being in the game is it has forced these DPS players to like actually practice tank ults. So like you all of a sudden will see in these games like all of a sudden a DPS player just whip out a crazy good monkey juggle because they've been practicing it from when they copy monkey on Echo.
True. Yeah, I mean this is the thing, right? The Echo players have to be super flexible, and that's where the real hyper flexes come through. Like I'm sure you guys even must have. You probably have more than one Echo player, in fact, if I'm not mistaken. I think Assassin definitely plays it. Probably within Tuba's hero pool, and I wouldn't be surprised if Decay has it too, just because he plays literally everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, again, like that's kind of part of our philosophy of our DPS rotation, is that while we might have a couple players that can play any given hero, if you, for example, if you put Decay on Echo, because like let's say that you had like a team with just Decay and then someone that could play like a Tracer but not an Echo, like how much are you losing by forcing Decay to play Echo when he could have been on Tracer? And so we wanted to be in a situation where we never had to make that trade-off of like opportunity cost by putting someone like Decay, who's admittedly going to be good at everything, but taking him off for something that he's great at.
That's really important. I think you have like certain people, like you said, like there are certain heroes that for Decay, he's probably the best at the league at, or at least in discussion for absolutely best in the league at, next to like one other person, right? So having some super flexible players in your team, that's why I think the Assassin pickup was so big. There were some comments back and forth about the Assassin pickup where people were either excited about it or people were maybe thinking like, oh, but why didn't you get this guy? And I just think Assassin being like, I think you said this on in discussion with someone else, I think on your stream at one point, where you said something along the lines of Assassin being a really good fit for your team, which is those kind of intangibles that people forget about. Intangibles are so important in terms of how they actually integrate on the team internally is a massive deal, because we've seen a lot of internal booms in the Overwatch League across different teams, across different seasons. So that's actually a huge factor. And then on top of that, I actually rate the fact that Assassin being a flex player, but they're also then having like a more than decent Tracer. Like, it's not just a serviceable Tracer that some people have. Like when I saw him play Tracer and Runaway, he was legit carrying the team out of situations where they're probably going to lose. So that's going to be very important for the team.
Yeah, and to even add a bit more color, as Rhea's really making this Ashe work for him, to add a bit more color to that Assassin pickup, like we mentioned that we had done a good amount of scrimming, and which is why we felt confident that was the right pickup to make, hero pool wise. But like what people don't maybe they wouldn't know because we haven't said it, is that also like we were very, very happy with our team chemistry. And so that was something that we were really, really thinking about was, okay, we want to fill this, what we feel like is a gap in our hero pool, as Tuba chases Jerry down with that primal. Yeah, we want to address this gap in the hero pool, but we don't want to compromise what we feel is a really, really good team synergy. Which is why that was so important to us. And yeah, Avril, I know you're someone that you know respects the benefit of those intangibles, which are sometimes forgotten when too much disrespectful
again.
Yeah, those intangibles that are sometimes forgotten when you're trying to build like a fantasy team.
Yeah, everyone like putting like even like when I'm doing that type of content as well, I'm just sticking together like on paper in a vacuum. Forget about teamwork, forget about like personality, forget about ego, forget about everything else.
Right? I saw you putting Funny Astro on that team, and I was like, man, he's not going to talk to anybody.
But who? So, who on what team?
Sorry, on your dream team that you were making. That Funny Astro was on the APAC team. I think he was the only English speaker. But like I understood what you were doing, but I was like, man, that's going to be tough.
in hindsight, I think Alarm IDK would have been the better choice. But you know what? I'll keep it as, again, it's as far as fantasy rosters go, like if I'm collecting fantasy points, I'm sure I'll do fine.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, these are people that like, you know, these kind of teams wouldn't work for X or Y reasons, and there's even other stuff like, you know, I mean, there's a whole business side of different contracts and like buyouts, and it gets so complicated, doesn't it? So I mean, like to actually put together a true dream team is fairly impossible. And I remember, actually Arnold, who's CEO of Seoul Dynasty, was saying like, you know, for some of his teams outside of Overwatch, just like you can't really put together a dream team because there's people locked up in contracts, there's people here with buyouts, and there's people in these other legal situations that are just too difficult, and so you can't even really get dream team. So I think anyone that's kind of looking at your roster like, oh, but you got these guys, but why don't you get these guys, or why couldn't you get like, why is Violet and Moth not on your team, you know, like stuff like that, which like, why do you have Bebe and Closer and X or Y? But it's like, I think to even have put together the amount of superstars you have on your team and then be in a situation where, you know, like you said, the actual internal synergy seems really good, like that sounds already like a dream scenario. Like imagine having an even close to super team with good synergy working out. Like that's every GM/head coach's dream, because usually something doesn't go right there. Usually there's an ego clash. Usually there's something that will prevent that from working, or you're not going to complete anywhere near that team. Maybe you'll have the one superstar or two people, but you guys have multiples, and it sounds like things are actually working.
Yeah, and it's, yeah, I mean, with everything, I think the conversation, whenever I'm talking to our owners, you know, and I'm trying to make a pitch for why I want a certain player or why I think we should spend a certain amount on a certain contract, the phrase that I keep falling back to is like, we're just trying to buy a seat at the table, because we realize that so much of this comes down to luck. It comes down to the luck of a player being available. It comes down to the luck of a meta. It comes down to a lot of things. And so the phrasing that I often use is, yeah, we're just trying to buy a huge ante. Yeah, we're just trying to buy a seat at the table. You know, we're just trying to put ourselves in the mix, and then if things kind of click, then we'll be ready to make it happen when they do.
Absolutely. You guys kind of, that the timing comes through, specifically talking even about like the Stitch Janu situation. Like you guys weren't even ready for that. Like, well, you didn't know that was going to happen. It just kind of fell on your lap almost because they happened to be available.
As well, right? So, like, yeah.
You just had to kind of, the timing had to be very fortunate for you for some of the stuff to line up. So.
Yeah, and I think like there's some like luck to that, and people, you know, they want to bring up like the luck of the meta or like the luck of, you know, Vancouver releasing a lot of their players, but there's something to be said for, you know, putting yourself in a position to capitalize on those things, right? To be like a team that is ready and agile and keeping an open mind to building a team in that way or making those pickups, which I'm really proud that we've been able to do.
So there you go. There's Jerry trying the Nano Blade.
It wasn't quite it. That wasn't quite it. We're taking that out of his rotation.
And there's you saying, why did I give you the Nano? So... yeah, that's pretty wild. Who was it yesterday? Someone in the Steel Series matchup yesterday was it Valentine? It was Valentine who did some very good blades that didn't even need a nano. I thought that was so cool because...
it was Valentine. Yeah, Valentine's blades.
As good as nano blades are, I am the person, like, when I look at this game strategically, I always want to be greedy, and I think, like, if you can get away with using less, that's always better. And so if you can get away with just using a blade and no nano, that's so awesome.
There's so many fight-winning ults in the game. Like... do you want to just like kind of be a bot about always having to commit to? Like, yeah, it's such an intelligence difference if you can say, oh, you know what, I don't need the nano here. Like, save it for a tank. Yeah. Like, yeah, like they're low enough. I can get the resets. I don't need to be able to put that extra amount of damage out.
It's a huge amount of investment. Like I think just putting the extra nano in requires that your blade now has to be like a 3k, 4k fight winner, because you've spent 2 ults. And if you think about it from the perspective of in any other fight for two other heroes, if you spent 2 ults and you didn't win the fight, I mean, it's a different story if they countered with 2 more ults. Tuba's got a nice timing gap, because he's not going to get the kill though.
I was gonna say that was a little embarrassing. He had the hook ready. I think he tried to ego mag and he got the ult there, but not the kill on Ana.
Jerry got some kills now though. He's got 3. He's got the blade out with. No, he does have the nano. I think 2. You also use the nano there.
Yeah. He's demanding it.
I bet he's demanding. Jerry's like, you know what? I don't normally play Genji. I'm gonna need some help. I'm gonna need the nano. I'll need some assistance. But in a situation where the nano can go to a tank and you can create a second threat, I think is so much more powerful than just purely putting the nano on the Genji. And if you do have the nano Genji, you need to have a lot happen. So everyone's walked past Jerry at this stage.
Yep.
Unfortunately, he's not playing like some sort of McCree that can just flash one shot.
Right. He's just happy not to take the 2v1. Oh no! Oh, that was a little rough. Here we'll get the top-down view from Bebe up here, commanding the high ground. And actually, something I wanted to mention to the chat here. We had mentioned in our pre-game kind of announcements that we wanted to try to tap into some of the comms on this. Because this is the kind of Justice/English speaking stream, we decided that would be really difficult for us to try to like bring in translation and do that as well. So what we're trying to do, or what we will do for the Justice fans instead, is Henny, who many of you met on my stream as our new translator. We're actually going to do a comms check style highlight. Oh, with a great deflect there from Jerry. So we'll get some of the fun banter where we're recording this. We'll also translate some of these fun little back and forths in the chat. So our Western fan base can enjoy the fun of this match as well.
Absolutely, I think those are like the type of content that really shows the personality of the players, which is really awesome. And then something like this as well, where they're playing with people they don't normally play with. Mag this time onto the soldier as well. I think this is going to be another Jerry nano blade, so we'll get another peek at. Okay, nice shot, Jerry.
He was just disrespecting Rhea. He got the deflect on the last kill, and now he's spawn killing with the shurikens. Jerry's, maybe he heard me saying that we're taking this out of his hero pool, and he wants to keep it in his back pocket. Here he comes.
There you go. When you don't have like a bunch of CC on the other team and no one else is around, the red team is not coordinated enough, so they don't have enough players stacked up for Jerry to get a bigger nano blade than just the 2. And Marvel, I've never seen a Marvel Tracer before.
I think we also on the red team have very much abandoned heals, which I think might be adding to the difficulty they're having here.
There's not even that's right. There's not. Because you were playing Ghost, you don't have a hero lock on. That means you can run 4 DPS. So this is 4 DPS, 1 tank, 1 support is like everyone's ranked experience prior to 222. So I mean, it's not even. Hey, this is just giving some flashbacks to old Overwatch now.
But I will say that they're never out of it with Tuba on the Winston though.
Okay, Marvel.
Oh, you see, as soon as I swap off of Marvel there, we get some strong play. We'll give Fitz some love here. Fitz really, taking one for the team as the solo healer.
Fitz who had a huge comeback. I'll say it again, but Fitz kind of outplaying Lip to me and Nexus was so massive. And it's kind of like part of the reason why I'm big on Soul. It's just they have incredible veteran talent, players that still at the top of their game, who are veterans like Prophet, who, when Prophet wants to be, he's like legitimately one of the best players in the world. He's just right up there. You got Fitz who competes with Lip now, which I didn't expect, and APAC in general, which is so strong. I actually think you guys scrimming in APAC is like you can probably feel it yourself, but this is you guys got a huge leg up. I feel in the preseason scrimming APAC.
Oh yeah,
getting access to that. Because even at the contenders level, I think there's a lot of strong Korean teams as well, as I'm sure you know, as well as different APAC Overwatch League teams who are all super stacked.
Oh yeah, and it goes even beyond that. I think I mentioned it in my stream with Yiska, but Jake tweeted about it that on ladder, right? I think Jake was saying that he was VPNing into Korea, and 80% of his games in the top 500 when he was top 500 were meta. and then you come to NA, and what 50% of your games are with a Sim one trick, a Bastion one trick, a Torb one trick. It's like I am in the Overwatch League like channels where I see the complaints going on about what's going on. As Prophet reminds Rhea who the DPS players are.
Real man. DPS player versus fake DPS player.
I say that, but here's Animo with a couple of picks on Sombra, you know, making a play for the non-DPS players as well. So, and Tuba continuing to rack up these primal rage kills.
What's the I actually remember one thing that was kind of cool, but I remember on one of your previous roster, Aim God, who by the way a more Overwatch lord, used to be an ex-teammate of Animo back in the day. He actually had really good English. Like, do you guys have a sort of situation where, you know, I assume in future when you're looking towards content with the team, everyone's arrived in Washington, stuff like that. Obviously, you have translations. You got Haney on your team, who's great, you know, for when you guys are going to be doing comm and stuff like that. But, you know, what's the level of English proficiency at the moment? Is there any opportunity for English type of content, any stuff like that?
Yeah. So and like Henny, I think it's a great point. So she actually, part of the reason that we were so excited to have her on the team is that, you know, I'll pull us back in here. Is that she does have that experience teaching English. So we're no matter where everyone is, you know, we expect, and we've talked to all of our players that when we said we wanted them to feel comfortable coming to the US, we also wanted them to feel not like they were like in a bubble, but that they would kind of feel like they got to actually experience DC as a city. And part of that is understanding the language. So we do have some players that are basically fluent and are like ready to go. So Closer has great English. Who else on the team is doing really well? I think Jerry and I have memed, and Tuba, actually I would say Jerry and Tuba are both in a pretty good spot where they can, and it's also like a confidence thing. I think a lot of these guys are better than they let on, but they might not necessarily want to, you know, jump into a conversation with me. But yeah, I think overall we're in a good place, and there's also a lot of these guys have been on teams like Fury, where they were on teams with a lot of English speaking players and staff.
Yeah, Closer's been on a mixed team, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Jerry's been on a mixed team.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a short jump. I think it'll be pretty easy for us to hop over and get some great interactions with the fans, because that was important for us when we decided to go towards a Korean roster. We wanted to make sure that we weren't going to sever that connection with our fan base.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's cool. And as we kind of get to the, you know, we're more than halfway through. There's still a little bit left, and I assume we are going to get into. So yeah, teams are getting into this one. One cool thing that I just realized, I had a bit of a thought as we're moving through the different matches here, but the sort of conclusions that fans are going to be taken away from the open scrims, particularly the first 3 games. What I've realized out of that, it's going to be quite interesting, ironically, is that any expectations, any sort of conclusions that fans take away will be their own scrim bucks now, because they literally just watch the scrim. So if they have conclusions about like who's good and who's bad and this and that, it's like, well, now they're your scrim bucks too, guys. Fans, now you're scrim bucksing as well. Now you are playing with scrim bucks, because because if you want to make any conclusion, remember you are cashed in the scrim bucks. So.
And the debt collectors are fierce. They are fierce, and they don't forget
that the money fluctuates. We'll see how, you know, that thing changes more than Dogecoin. So, what's your take on? I don't actually know what this 4v4 game mode is. I don't know if you'd be able to even just explain to me like what.
Yeah, so our first one is actually going to be a lot more straightforward. So this is just going to be the classic arcade mode that we're used to seeing if you play Overwatch. It's that team deathmatch. Where you are just constantly respawning. We'll probably set it at like winning at probably like 30 or 25 kills, something to that. So you choose 4 heroes, any hero in the game, and it's just a race to a certain number of elims. I think we'll probably set it at 30.
So it's just pure kills.
Yeah, just pure kills. Always on like I think we're going to do Chateau, always one of these kind of like free for all style maps. Quickly, you'll see with this, at least in the arcade games that I've played, and I'm sure that a lot of our fans have played, you'll realize that the benefit or the meta is to stick together as 4. It's very tempting to kind of peel off on your own. But when you're kind of as a clump of 4, it's pretty easy to start chasing down and staggering individuals, because there is like a quick kind of 3-second respawn timer. So yeah, we'll have some fun with this one. And then the last game mode, which we're going to see if we have time to go into, is going to be DPS versus tank. And this one I have less insight into. What I've been told is that this is a game mode that our players have been enjoying as a warm-up, where there are no supports. It's just DPS and tank heroes. It's a bit more of like a team deathmatch variety. But I don't even know all of the rules to that. So if we get to that, we'll learn that
no
together.
Healing.
No healing. No healing. So yeah, a lot of like focusing on like mechanics. I think there's a lot of natural kind of like Rhine versus Rhine, like shatter mind games. So it's like more practicing kind of like heads up poker, right? You know, it's like heads up poker is like a different skill set than like 1v8 poker. So I think it's kind of doing it in that variety. So we'll see. I'm in our little Discord server here. I know we're already a little bit over on time, but I think everyone's having enough fun that we definitely want to at least get this 4v4 in.
All right, well, we'll see how much we can get through. We'll at least have this one game going. And in the 4v4 as well, what do people, obviously it's not like super serious, but what do people play? Is it like you go 2 DPS, 1 tank, 1 support kind of deal? Or what? Because funnily enough, I've actually casted before for fun was it 3v3 or 4v? I think it was either 3v3 or 4v4, but it was actually like a 4v4 tournament. And I actually started to notice like small metas developing through that, and it was quite interesting. So I don't know.
And I think, well, if I have to guess, right, I think we'll probably start with like very DPS. Like we'll certainly see like Tracer's obviously always a favorite here. Anything that has like high burst, high kill potential. But I wouldn't be surprised if once one team pulls ahead, there's certainly like a class of cheese heroes in 4v4. So like Hog's like your go-to, right? Like he is so difficult to kill. So much sustain, so much self-healing, so much burst. So I wouldn't be surprised if like we see some Hog, some Mei, you know, some of these like self-heal, because the game is both, you want to get the points by getting kills, but you also want to survive. So as we were talking about, you know, Mag always sneaking away with 1 health, you want to play those heroes that have that escapability. So I think we'll probably start like Glass Cannon, you know, everyone on these really aggressive heroes, but then if a team decides it's time to win, we'll see some swaps onto like the Soldier, the Hog, the Mei that, you know, give you a little more survivability.
Actually, what I found to be interesting about low numbers Overwatch is that tanks are so much better because, and I said this when I was talking to some players playing in like a 3v3 tournament, and they were like, you know, what do you think is good here? I'm like, actually just play tanks because the game is not balanced around there being low numbers. So tanks end up having huge numerical values.
Yeah, the health
and shield values are ridiculous. So it's like you normally you have like 6 people on the other time shooting your shield. Now it's just like half that amount, but you still have the same value as shield. It's crazy. So Chateau Gyat is where we're going. And who's playing here? Just Marvel Prophet Creative versus Fury, Mag, Bebe, Closer. So that means double tank DPS. No, hang on. It's double support, double tank. And is it the same on the other side? No, we got Prophet as a solo DPS, and then double tank, 1 support. So we got a slightly different sort of lineup in terms of what both teams are going for. So Washington is gone for no DPS, double tank, double support.
And I think you know, it wouldn't be an owl event without a quick pause here. So we'll get this one out of the way, and then I'm not sure if we're swapping the teams. Yeah. Let's see. I think we are going to stick with the. Let's see if I can get this back up. Justice. There we go. We'll give the graphics.
Awesome.
Look at the graphics. One final ride. So this is actually going to be our last map here, fans. I checked in with the coaches there, and I think that we are. You know, it is scrim time, so we are. Ooh, we got the skins. So we weren't able to wear the skins in the other game modes, but we're repping our teams here. One last ride. This is. As we went this stream, Bag's
got an away skin. You got some home skins going, some away skins going. Opening kill goes to creative. So how many is just 10 minutes? However many kills in 10 minutes, or is there a limit?
I think it's 30. It's the traditional. 30, okay. Yeah, traditionally in this it's 30. But we will see what they go with. And yeah, the Justice they have gone with. I think we've seen like this is like the cheese. What we were talking about, the tanks that just don't die versus the glass
3
cannon.
tanks plus bat. Oh god.
Yeah, I
it's
think
so
the
gross.
Justice. Yeah, Seoul's gonna have to if they want to win. You know, if they're gonna win, you know, everyone wins if you're having fun. They'll still stick with this comp. I think if they're gonna want to win, pushing 4 DPS into 3 tanks and a BAF is gonna be a headache.
Everyone wins when you're having fun, but some people have more fun winning. So
Yeah.
I think that's the mantra for Justice. Their comp today. This is, and you know it's good. You know it's insane when Closer is not the one playing the BAP and Mag is the one playing the BAP instead of the tank. So this is how Justice going on that level right now. But yeah, look, BAP plus triple tank is insane, and even one of them has their own heals. That being said, though, the ultimates have been farmed up. I wonder if any of this is going to connect. Pulse goes wide.
Yeah.
Creative got 1 kill.
There we
Soul
go,
is starting to
they're
catch
pulling
up. It's 5-7 now.
We'll see. You guys saw Mag get the pick on Gesture there. Mag, I think a key part of this composition for the Justice, our heal, some great poke damage there. But hey, you know, I said I thought that the Justice had the superior comp here, but we're staying pretty even.
Mag's like, you know what? This skin's got some red and white on it. I can pretend it's a Justice away skin. It's close enough. Mag's like, I never expected to ever play BAP, so I don't have a skin.
Yeah, that's almost totally what happened.
So 10 and 7. So again, 30 I think is what we're aiming towards. About 20 away at the moment, and I'll be watching to see if Seoul make any changes here because so far they've at least started moving towards, you know, just was he on ball previously? I thought they were doing 4 DPS.
Yeah, he was on Widow for a bit, and now
right. So now they're doing ball 3.
But I will say you get the survivability, but not.
Oh, no, there is now.
Oh, yeah.
Profit went. I know.
That's what we were saying, right? You know, you start DPS, you start Glass Cannon, and then you remember you want to win, and then all of a sudden the swaps start coming in.
This would actually be cool as a DPS only mode, and I would almost like to see a version where, like, for your team, especially because you've got 4 DPS players, all 4 of your DPS comes out, plays 4 DPSs, and another team that has like maybe 3 DPSs plus another player that's quite good on DPS, or another team that actually just has 4
DPS. Have 4 DPS? They did last year. I don't remember if they definitely have 3. I don't know if they have 4 this year. Well,
we're talking about NA, right?
Yeah. Are we taking notes
Boston,
here
actually,
for the post
Boston
game?
has 4 DPS. Boston has 4 DPS. And
there we go,
then London have 4 DPS. Houston have 5 DPS. So Shock have 4 DPS. That actually could be a good one.
Yeah,
Can you imagine Striker, Nero, Tyro, Glista
that would be a really fun
one. Lobby, in a 4v4 lobby with Jerry, Decay, Assassin, Tuber together? That'd be quite fun.
We could get some incentives going. I thought about challenging Arnold. I know Arnold's a big basketball fan. I thought about...
Oh, really?
I know he's a Lakers fan. I'm a big Nuggets fan. So I thought about challenging him and saying, you know, if we win the scrim, you have to buy me a Nuggets jersey, and if you win, I'll buy you a Lakers jersey. But
oh, that's cool.
I decided not to this time, but if we get another one, then I might go for it.
Dude, wait
you want some skin in the game.
Dude, if you guys ever match up like in a like a main melee or a summer showdown or something like that, there's already enough incentive that even on top of that to be pretty sick. I don't know.
That'd be fun. I like the banter. I don't know if you follow Call of Duty social.
Oh, trust me, I saw it.
Yeah, we saw some banter today. So we'll see if that makes its way to the Overwatch League as well.
Hey, I mean, Hastro's an owner of the Overwatch League. You never know.
True.
I appreciate his. For people that don't know, he was basically very passionate about winning today. His team beat one of the LA teams in CDL,
100 Thieves, yeah.
and 100 Thieves, who don't have a team in Overwatch League, but Hastro owns Dallas Fuel and Dallas Empire, and the MV organization, and very passionate about winning and very passionate about, you know, succeeding. And he's got the trophies to back it up. Trust me. So I mean, for fans that don't realize. So and here's the really interesting thing. I think the one franchise, the one trophy, like the one part of his organization that hasn't historically done well has actually been Dallas Field, which is why him rebuilding Dallas Field into his own super team, I have a huge amount of respect for, because I know Hastro wants to win.
Yeah,
he really
interesting. Yeah, there are so many good stories coming into this. I think this is gonna be the best season of Overwatch we've ever seen. The talent depth on these teams is so good. The storylines for the Dallas rebuild, the Justice rebuild, the format is the best it's ever been. I really think this is gonna be the best season of Overwatch we've ever had.
And now we're approaching that 30 as well, so we're on 24. We're actually getting quite far away from Seoul, who's, you know, made more change-ups here. I say more, it's really just creative going towards the Junkrat. And at one point, I think, while we were watching this game and talking about stuff, they were pretty close to score lines, but now, the Justice team have really pushed ahead 24-16, so Seoul slightly slowed down now. Might be a bit of a catch-up opportunity here as it's just 4 away.
Yeah, a nice little team wipe there for Seoul. We're seeing some swaps. I'm surprised Baby stayed committed to Zarya. Zarya is a hard hero to get value from in this game mode because it is so hard to keep your charge up. With the time, like this period right here where you're kind of like searching around the map for the other team, that's like 20 Zarya charge.
You need spam. Yeah, you need a 6v6. I think Zarya's definitely balanced for like a 6v6 where people are shooting the bubbles a bit more. Creative blows up Baby as we saw there as well. Closer, who I've on an Echo, and shout outs to Closer, he even has the Washington skin on the Echo.
Yeah, so that's the commitment we like to see. And I love that. I love that we've seen the swap here from the Justice from the hard win comp to the 3 DPS comp. Now that we got to clutch time,
and Soul's caught up.
Yeah, we're making it. We're not gonna end on a dud here. We're going to the wire.
This tie could be pretty huge. No, okay, I lied.
Mag is all warmed up from his DPS play in the APAC round.
Pretty close now. 2 away. So is Justice going to get the last 2 kills here? Who's available? 1 away here, Pre. Just 1 more kill. So we'll have to play perfectly here.
Oh, there it is. You love to see it. That's the mentality.
So one done. You've won everything in this open scrim. You've won it all except for Eichenwalde. Technically, you got in terms of actually winning the sort of half block here, you've done it. We got there. A first W on the board publicly for the Washington Justice. And
I think we're sending through GGs here. So I think this is this is. I wasn't sure if we were gonna do one more, but I think again we love to doing this for you guys, but for the players. They're all actually. I know we have another scrim booked for tonight, so I'm not sure. I bet Soul does as well. So this was awesome. I'm so happy we were able to do this.
So you guys are all going to your next scrims afterwards. Is that correct? Everyone's going. To
we have a bit of a break. We knew this was going to be a little bit more demanding on the players. Just kind of. We wanted them to kind of have a chance to reset, get back into like a competitive mindset, and then jump into their next scrim. So yeah, but we do have another one today. No rest for the wicked. We love doing this, but yeah, we're not giving them the day off.
So what is what's good now? Are we going straight to your Twitch stream? Are we closing up anything else here? Or is there anything on the agenda left for us?
No, I think this is it. Yeah, I think I'll pull up our little post game announcement here. We'll probably take a quick break before we immediately go over to Twitch. But yeah, I think all that's left is just to say thank you to the fans. This was awesome. And I mean, thank you to the fans because you guys are always here for us, but also big thank you to AVRL. I said before, and I'm just a big fan. So I'm super happy that AVRL was able to join us, able to carry the casting for me. So thank you so much. The Justice really appreciate you.
And thank you to you as well. I much appreciated. I think your team is one of the leaders in terms of having content for the fans. And it's not just content like we're putting out some edited content, but content where you guys are already putting yourself out there, live stuff like this as well. You've been on plenty of different bits and pieces where you've answered a lot of questions. You've answered my questions. You've answered other people's questions. You've been open to fans, and it's great to see. I think you along with some other staff members on other teams making a big push for fan connection this season. It's been well and truly noted, and I think I can definitely speak on behalf of the fans in saying that it's been a real blessing to have. I think for the fans to have this level of connection to the team, and on top of that, you guys are slated to have a great season as well, which we'll be able to talk about soon on your channel in just a moment. Which is just going to be extra for the fans. You guys get to, have a stellar team with stellar results and with a lot of, open dialogue, which is, I think, what everyone really appreciates. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the kind words. And yeah, this is great, guys. Thank you so much. And we'll go ahead and we'll throw up our graphic here. We'll leave this stream up just a little bit longer, and then we'll see you in about 5 minutes over on Twitch. Thank you so much.
See you soon.